did the last one, the live I did, I had no idea. It was actually doing better than any of my other videos. So we're going to start going live on YouTube. I'll tell you guys when it pops up here. 1 second. Give me 1 second. And then we are going to start another light bulb. And I think we are live. Welcome, everybody. Guys, good to have everybody here. Pat, okay, tell the story. You were telling a story about when I got in a fight when I was a kid. What happened?
Lakewood Elementary School. Duke Barnes was he had like a little complex about him. He was upset about something. And I remember us swinging on the swing set, and Mike was feeling himself that day. And he was like, "Hey, Dookie." Because I think he saw some of the cool kids call him Dookie before, and he thought he could get away with it. But Dookie was not having it. So I believe, as I recall, Dookie came up behind Mike while swinging and grabbed him shoulder-wise and pulled him backwards onto his back. And it was a very bullying incident, traumatized me.
I think
I'm still worried about it.
I think Duke was 2 years older than me because he played wide receiver and I played tight end. He was a senior, I think, he was a junior when I was a freshman. So Duke would have been in like junior high, and I was in 6th grade. I think that's what happened.
Don't worry, Mike. I came and got your revenge for him on Honeycutt.
What happened? What do you mean?
Old Honeycutt got cut, not from the team, but.
Hold on, guys. I know this looks weird, but I got to change my focus. Welcome, everybody. Hey, guys, welcome. This is our first ever live stream we're doing on YouTube. That's my brother telling stories about when I was in elementary school. Good, man. We got a lot of people on the call today. We're trying something crazy today, man. Hopefully, we got a special guest. Everybody let me know if you see a special guest join us here in a little bit. For those of you who are a Zoom user, could you guys change your name to your actual name? For the rest of you, this might be the first time you guys watching us on YouTube. I wanted to give you a look inside of Men of Action, and this is what we're going to do. This is going to be our free call, but we're going to treat it just like an MOA call. Hopefully we've got some ladies joining us a little bit. We're going to go over several topics, and we're going to answer questions. Instead of doing a super chat, we're going to answer questions live for as long as it takes. We're going to go all day until it takes. By the way, I'm in here by myself, so I'm doing this whole thing alone. I don't have anybody producing for me, and this is the first time I've ever gone stream live on YouTube before. So, bear with me. So here we go. For those of you who are new to the chat, here's what we do. I want you to change your name on here to your Instagram handle, and I want you to put your city in there, whatever city you're from. So mine, it says Michael Sartain, so I'm going to change it right now. I'm going to rename myself to @MichaelSartain because that's my Instagram handle, and I am in Las Vegas. That's it. Be 1% smarter than the computer. Cool. So everybody should be able to change your information there. Patrick, you change yours as well. And then we're going to get to the questions. For those of you who have any questions, raise your hand. I did a live stream with Rolo Tomassi a couple of days ago where we talked about Andrew Tate and his interview with Pierce Morgan. Andrew just saw it a couple of minutes ago, and he's watching the video right now. He had not seen it previously, but he just hit me up and he was like, "Wow, this is awesome." So he's watching the video right now, and he'll probably hit me up and let me know what he thinks. Hopefully we can get some other people on here. What's going on, Fahad? Guys, if you've never done this before, I'm gonna explain to you how it works. So it's not like a super chat. You actually have to ask me a question. So you have to raise your hand, and then I will call on you, and then we'll talk about it here. It looks like we've got about 65 people on right now. And wait, is that Connie Pena? Hold on, wait a second. Hold on, Connie. Can you turn your camera on? Hold on, Connie's in here. Let's give it a second. All right, hold on. I got to mute everybody. Bear with me. Guys, please ask, if you have any questions, please ask the questions. For those of you who are co-hosts, can you guys please let people in if I don't let anybody in right now, because otherwise we're going to be sitting here. There's a bunch more people joining the call right now. For those of you who had any questions, go ahead and raise your hand for your questions. A couple things. On November 26th, I'm going to be hosting the Teddy Ball in San Diego, California. That is a charity event. All of you are invited to this charity event. Anytime it's a charity event, it's not an official MOA thing. You guys are always invited to help me support charities. Just like I want to say thank you to all the guys who came out a couple of days ago for the Foster Friday Foundation charity event. We probably raised another $80,000 for homeless animals in Clark County. Also, for those of you who are interested, on December 1st, we're going to be doing Babes in Toyland in Los Angeles. This Babes in Toyland is going to be supporting the Midnight Mission, which is homeless children. It's a homeless shelter It's over 100 years old, and it is in Los Angeles. So if you guys want to come support that, you can go to Babes in Toyland charity right now. I don't know if the tickets are on sale, but I want to invite all you guys to come to that. Also, one other thing, if it's a charity event, you just pay for the ticket. I don't want any other money other than that. Whatever money you guys were going to pay me, you need to give it to the charity, okay? For a charity event. I do charity events for free. I would recommend you guys do the same thing. I would not take money to go work at a charity event. Whenever they ask me to recruit, if they want me to host a red carpet, I always do that for free. The charity events are for free. Make sense? And I will tell you, by doing that, by doing things for other people and not asking for anything in return, my whole career has been based off that. The way I got involved with Babes in Toyland in the first place is they were actually paying a separate camera crew, or they had an arrangement with a separate camera crew to make videos for them. I showed up with my camera crew. We were angry as a motherfucker. We showed up. No, sorry, I don't know. We're on YouTube. I don't know if I can say this stuff. We were angry. We were like, you know what? We're going to do a better job. So we went and we shot for free and turned in a better video than the other group of people were trying to do, asking for money. And that's the thing. And then I built a relationship with Steve Fowler after that. And I was just like, hey, man, I'm all about, helping this charity. That was the only thing that mattered to me. And then I saw this incredible way to include all these amazing people in my life, guys that I network with, and a bunch of incredibly beautiful women. You know what's a great way to do it? Instead of trying to get them all to go to a nightclub where promoters are trying to offer them cocaine all night, let's all go to a charity event together. Let's go to Babes for Boobs. Let's go to the Model Citizen Fund. Let's go to Babes in Toyland. Let's go to Smash Global. Let's go. There's all these amazing, let's go to Foster Friday Foundation. Let's go to Monday's Dark. There's all these incredibly awesome social events that you can go to and support charities. And listen, if I ask a girl to come with me to support animal rescue and she doesn't want to come, she's for the streets anyway. I'm not interested. Okay. Seriously. I personally believe that getting people involved with charity events is a great way to screen for narcissists and psychopaths. That's why I like charity events so much. That's why I'm so, blessed that Steve Fowler and Barry Bly and Dan Fleischman and Steve Orozco have allowed me to be the host for their events, and Joel Alvarez and Kathy Wheatley and all these other people who've allowed me to host their events. I'm just very Anthony Knight. Can't forget Anthony Knight. We raised, like I said, probably $80,000 2 nights ago for animal rescue. They gave away so many incredible gifts. If Michael Mata's on here, Michael Mata gave away a bunch of ATV tours, and I was like, "How many ATV tours?" And he just waved his hand. He's like, "As many as you want." He just said, "As many as you want." That's what he said. People were giving away so much shit. It was crazy. There was a guy up there. He had a Lamborghini shop, a rental. He had a shop where they were giving away Lambos, just to rent for the day. He was like, so it's usually $3,500 for a Lambo. He's like, I'll give you $3,000. I'll give you 2 days, 3,000, 4,000, 5, just like that, raising $4,000, $5,000 for animal rescue. So I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite things to be involved with, is whenever I'm involved with philanthropists. And I'll tell you something else. People who don't agree with each other on political issues will come together for something like domestic abuse, or come together for something like animal rescue. That's why I think that those kind of events are so important. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like Democrats and Republicans, I don't care what you believe. If you think animals should be treated cruelly, you're just a fucked up person. It doesn't matter what your politics are. Okay. And so that's one of the reasons why I love going to those events. That's one of the basis. I'm very, very open about this. One of the basis of Men of Action is that we support charities. One of the key tenets of the Men of Action mentoring group is that we try to support charities as often as possible. And if we build a network based on that, that's good, because that means our network is filled with empathetic people. And that's essentially what I want for you guys. Awesome. Cool. We're going to get to a couple more topics here in a little bit. If you guys, again, those of you who are a Zoom user, if you guys could please change your name to your actual name. Also, when you ask a question on this call, if you've never been on one of my calls before, put a 1 in the chat. Can you put a 1 in the chat for me? You've never been on one of my calls before. Let me see here. Do I have a super chat? Oh, hell yeah, man. What's going on? Hey, so I'm looking at the super chat right now on the top chat on YouTube, and good, man. Hey, shout out to everybody who's nice, man. Okay, cool. Good to see people are actually commenting on YouTube. If you guys want to do that to help the algorithm, man, I appreciate that. If you guys want to jump on that. So here we go. Shout out to all the people who put a 1 in the chat. Wow, there's a lot of people. Okay, if you put a 1 in the chat, I want to ask you guys to go ahead and ask a question. Okay, but when you ask a question, I want you to understand something. This is not the Men of Theory course. This is not the Men of Trauma Release course. This is not the Men of Dithering course. This is not the men of blathering course. This is not the men of game course. This is not the men of feelings course. This is not the men of karma course. This is the men of fucking action course. That means you got to turn your camera on. You got to ask the questions with your camera on. Okay. And you have to ask the questions while you maintain eye contact with the camera. That means you got to get your lighting set up in your room properly. That means you got to take this seriously, because everything we do, one of the great lessons I learned, Kevin Durant, you know, he's a Longhorn just like me. And I know there's a lot of people who criticize Kevin Durant, but you don't criticize his game, because his game is pure. Kevin Durant, if you ever see people when they go around with the basketball, sometimes they just fuck around and they're just like dribbling all the time. Kevin Durant has a rule that whenever a basketball is in his hand, he dribbles it properly. Always. He always dribbles it properly. He doesn't just jack up shots. Whenever he shoots shots, his feet are always proper. There's no fucking around with him. He only practices things 100% correctly. And because of that, he's one of the greatest scorers who's ever played basketball. Kevin Durant is. So I want to explain something to you guys. This is your first lesson for those of you who are not familiar with men of action. Please understand this. In life, you will not, when a crisis comes up, you will not rise to the level of your expectation. You will fall to the level of your training. One more time, you guys probably want to write this down. In life, when a crisis happens, you will not rise to the level of your expectation. You will fall to the level of your training. So what do we want to do in Men of Action? We want to train to do things right. That means I don't want to see when I call on you to you have some janky, creepy ass light behind you looking like you just chopped up somebody's body. Okay. I don't want you, when we're sitting there talking on here, I don't want you to be in a coffee shop where I can't hear what you're saying. None of that shit. I want you to look with the light on your face, looking directly in the camera. None of this shit where the camera's all over the place. Yeah, Michael, I'm taking a walk. I'm running from the cops right now. And I just want to ask a question. My girlfriend cheated on me. None of that shit. We do not do that in Men of Action. Because we know why. We fall to the level of our training. Here we're going to train for you to speak correctly, make eye contact, put space in between your words, put some bass in your voice, and not mumble. This is something you have to practice. One of the tenets of MOA also is I want you to practice watching yourself on camera so you won't start to understand. Yeah, Mike, I don't know why I have this weird tick whenever I talk. Let me tell you the story that I got coming. You need to be able to see these ticks that are in your face sometimes, because a lot of times you don't see them when you're talking to people. You don't hear what your voice sounds like when you're talking to people. One of the other tenets of Men of Action is called being calibrated, being able to read the room. Some of us as men, evolutionarily, men don't have to read the room like women do. Women have to read the room. Men don't all have to read the room. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of guys you'll see, they're very good. They're performers, right? They're mechanics, and they're welders, and they're airplane pilots. They're really technically sound. They're programmers. And then you put them in a social situation and then they look like morons. Okay. That's because they don't know how to read the room. In Men of Action, we need to know how to read the room. We need to understand one of those things. We need to become calibrated. We need to be immersed in high status situations, so that once we get in those situations, we don't freak out. Our voices doesn't change. Like, yeah, Mike, I'm going to go over and talk to this girl. Hey, what's your name? Hey, Sally. Oh, Sally, do you want to come hang out later? Hey, man, bro, what happened to your voice? Why do you sound like that? Because you're talking to a girl. Yo, bro, I don't know what happened. Let me just go talk to this girl again. One more time. Hey, Sally, do you want to come have a drink with me later? Bro, what's wrong with your voice? Why do you sound different like that whenever you talk to a girl? You know what I'm saying? Or you go talk to a celebrity. You talk, man, oh my God, I've always wanted to meet Dave Chappelle. What's up, Dave? What up, homie? What's going on? Why does your voice sound like that, bro? Why are you trying to sound not threatening? I don't understand. Why does your voice change? The reason why your voice changes is because you're not immersed in being in high status situations. So you change, your voice cracks, your pupils dilate, your palms start to sweat, your heart rate goes up. We need to get over all that shit. Got it? We ain't no AFCs. We're not AFCs. Beautiful. Thoughts on semen retention. This is incredible. This would be incredible. Okay. So, hey, Ty, can I ask you to do something for me, Ty Buchanan? Can you read questions from the super chat on YouTube for me? Okay. I'm going to go to questions on Zoom. And if you can do the super chat for me, can you do that for me, Ty?
Yeah, I can. Do you want me to type it in the chat here? Or
no, you're going to read them out to me, but not right now. I'll hit you up. We're going to do every other one. Christian, what's your question? Christian, turn your camera on.
Oh man, I'll be honest, I'm not ready for the camera, so I don't know if you can excuse me this one time. I just have a simple question, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, as one of your students, I was wondering, would you recommend we prioritize going over the podcast or the recommended readings, like the books?
If you have a choice to go over first, I would do the books, but I don't think you can miss David Buss.
Okay, no, I listened to that.
I feel so if I was gonna like say the two I would recommend the most, if you're hitting me up to join MOA and you're doing something specifically business oriented, then I would say David Buss, and then I would say Cole Gordon and Nick Cosman, maybe Ty Lopez. Okay. But if
Okay.
you're here and you're just like, Michael, I want to become better socially and better on social media, then I would say Ty Lopez and Dan Bilzerian. I'm sorry, Ty Lopez. I would say David Buss and Dan Bilzerian. Those I would have to watch, and then I would go through the books. I think the books, Pat, you said you're almost through all the books? Patrick?
Yeah, I'm pretty much, I think I have 2 more to go, but I'm like listening to 2 of them simultaneously.
Hey, guys, hold on. I gotta bring my my personal trainer on real quick. Rolo Tomassi.
Hey, what's happening? Personal trainer? Yeah, personal trainer. What kind of? What kind
It's my personal trainer. Hold on, let me see those guns, Rolo. Let me see them guns, Rolo. There they are. There they are. There we go.
What do we do? What do we do on the show? Well,
There we go.
Which way is the beach? It's that way.
It's that way. Nice, nice. W in the chat. All right, guys, we got Rolo Tomassi on here. I wanted to leave it as a surprise. So here's what we're gonna do. If you guys have questions for Rolo, I want you to ask them now. Okay. So I'm not going to keep Rolo on here for because Rolo, we'll go 4 hours.
Yeah,
we go
until
until
kickoff time. You got a half an hour until the Raiders.
Oh, that's right. It's Raiders Chiefs tonight. That's right. Okay. So we got half an hour. So guys, first of all, if you have questions, I want you to ask them for Rolo, not for me right now. Take your hands down if they're for me. Raise your hands if you got questions for Rolo. Okay. Beautiful. Nice. Nice. You're reading it. Oh, and you're reading both chats. Here we go. So thoughts on semen retention. That's hilarious. All right, here we go. We're going to go with Eric Tang. Eric, what's your question? Eric, got to unmute yourself.
Unmute, brother.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Rolo, what'd you learn from hanging out with Mike the last couple of days, or this last week, rather?
What did I learn? I will tell you
Biggest
this.
takeaways.
Well, I mean, Mike and I are of a like mind about a lot of different things. He and I will tell you the thing that I haven't told Mike this, so this will be the first time he's hearing this. My old co-host, Pat Campbell, the guy who passed away actually almost a year ago in October last year. If you know anything about my history, he was a mentor, was a great mentor to me, and a great man and a great individual in just in the general sense. But I had some people telling me that they were getting the same kind of vibes off of like our, collaboration that I had with Pat. And so I had to think about that for a minute. And I go, yeah, maybe that's why I'm kind of like, I work really well with Mike. So I really, I wasn't aware of that before I started working. And I go, yeah, I think I kind of get that vibe too, because Mike has that same kind of delivery that Pat Campbell used to. And that's, I think, one of the greatest strengths of my collaboration with Pat, as well as now with Mike. So as far as just getting out there and getting into the Vegas scene right now, I mean, I've always been a part of the Vegas scene, but I was from an employment side of things. I used to work in wine and spirits, and Las Vegas was one of my primary markets. So I was out in those situations, but I wasn't in the same context that I was with Mike over the last weekend for his birthday and everything else. And I'll tell you, my takeaway lesson was this: is that most guys don't have a frame of reference. And what I mean by that is like a frame of reference in the sense of a social frame of reference that Mike has, that I have, that like the women that he surrounds himself with. So when I am sort of immersed in the manosphere and I'm talking to guys who are, asking me just these general questions about, their hypergamy or the alpha widow dynamic, or, the stuff that I'm pretty much known for. Or we look in the chat and we see these guys calling these girls, oh, they're plastic and they've got, implants and they're superficial and everything else. I have to now kind of like bust myself down a little bit and go, they simply don't have this frame of reference. They don't have this life experience. So I have to sort of take things with a grain of salt. So I think the frame of reference in general for most guys don't have this reality, and so it's kind of hard for them to relate to it. So teaching them lessons from this respect is very difficult, and so I kind of have to like bust myself down a little bit more when I'm talking to them.
Nice, man.
Awesome.
Man, listen,
Beautiful.
listen, this is like, I'm just showing you videos because Rolo was with us when we were at.
I think
we
I
were
shot
going in
some
last
of
night.
these actually.
Yeah, these are great videos, man. That Rolo
Yeah.
Rolo shot some of them, but like this was so what you guys don't understand. You know, his book it spoke to me a lot, The Rational Male, and so getting to do a live stream with Rolo Tomassi was just surreal because I had always had these questions in my mind that I had always wanted to ask him. You know, and it was just really interesting seeing it for the first. There's my cat. There he is, right there. You know, getting to hang out with him and just having an understanding of like some of the stuff that he saw. And the other thing for me is that I've only put things into practice and then like looked at the theory later. But I always understood that like I feel like what Rolo does is so much easier to teach because you know he explains these things in a fundamental level. And the other thing we have to understand, this is probably the most important thing, is that we speak in generalities. There are people in what we would consider unhealthy relationships that are probably going to last for 40, 50 years and be happy and, you know, do things that we don't expect to happen. There are men who enjoy getting used by their wives. They do, like, you know, pay for everything, pay pig. Just nobody in MOA, but I'm sure there's guys that are out there that do that. It's just we don't do that. And so you know, we just don't judge people when they don't see things exactly the same way that we see them. But in general, the stuff that Rolo says, I find it to be true.
I love the fact that like you and I can still sort of like lock horns about some things as well, right? And that's good because that helps people learn like, okay, so why is there some sort of like, conflict between this idea and this idea? Or it might be we're reading from the same data set and we're just interpreting that data differently.
For
and
sure.
that's actually where it happens. And I would also add this, since you asked, I think that one of the strengths of my partnership with Mike right now is that everybody accuses me of being, oh, he's all theory. I'm like, yeah, I am actually out in the clubs and I'm watching this, but I'm more of like kind of like an observer. Like I'm a keen observer of human behavior. Always have been. I like to people watch. I've been in unique situations where I can watch people interact. And, you know, I joke about this, but I call myself like, you know, the Jane Goodall or the Diane Fossey of the red pill, right? I'm out there and I'm watching, you know, what are the humans doing? You know, fascinating behavior. And so I tend to be more analytical and more like practical minded. But people always accuse me of being nothing but theory. But I think one of the strengths of my partnership with Mike here is Mike is the practice. So it's this confluence of theory and practice as well. And I think that's where most people learn. Like at that point, that midway point, that's where people actually learn something instead of like rote memorization of just practice or just like reading books all day and never getting out and doing anything with it. There has to be a confluence and where you're putting theory to practice and then the experiment in the field and everything. That's where real learning takes place.
Yeah, you know, I said the same thing to Dr. Buss. I was like, Dr. Buss, you're the theoretical physicist and I'm the experimental physicist out here in these streets. But here's the thing, Rolo. You know what? I teach a networking course and it's you don't have to worry about it. I'll get you in wherever you want because you're in my network. That's one of the things I want to teach. Rolo doesn't ever have to worry about it. If he comes to Vegas and he's like, I want to go on stage at Zook. I'm taking him on stage at Zook because he's in my group. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? This is one of the things we teach about networking. Rolo's an author. He doesn't have to worry about this. I will worry about it for him. I will get him in wherever the fuck he wants to go. And that's what you should be doing for the people in your network. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Like when Steve Fowler is like, well, we're going to a new city and I don't know any girls here, or same thing with Barry Bly. No, don't worry about it. You're my boy. I'll bring the girls. I'll bring the girls. That's what that's how we're supposed to act as men.
We're tribe. We're a tribe. No, let me tell you something. Rolo does go out to the clubs. You know why? Because I'm going to take him out to the clubs. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anything to worry about. I will have to work this time. Yeah. He doesn't have to work for it. I will handle it. I will get him in wherever he wants. Why did we decide on the name Access Vegas? Well, because so this is the thing, right? So I talked about this before. The three things, when I read The Rational Male, I took notes and there were three things that I thought I was like, well, there's that you didn't really discuss. And one of them was logistics.
and access, right? I used to say, like, I love everything in Rolo's book, but I'm going to the Playboy Mansion and there's nothing in here about getting invited to the Playboy Mansion. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Practice.
So
Yeah, that's the practice. I'm the theory.
Exactly. So that was one of the things. And by the way, if the Playboy Mansion was still open, I would take Rolo with me to the Playboy Mansion. But it's not like a function of like Rolo's game or my game. This is what networking is supposed to do. Do you guys understand that? This is really important to understand. Michael Mata, he's one of my clients, he owns ATV Tours down here in Las Vegas. It's not my job to own an ATV tourist spot. But if I want to go do ATV shit, I'll go with Michael Mata to go do that. If I want to go shooting, I'll go with Dan Bilzerian. If I want to go paintballing, I'll go with Dan Bilzerian. Like, because they're part of my tribe. They're part of my tribe. And that's the reason why we all take care of each other. Do you guys understand? This is a really important thing to gather. And so
let me chime in just real quick. I with the guys that I work with, that's the number one thing I say when guys come up to me and they ask me, say, Rolo, how do I talk to girls? How do I do this? My first question to these guys is, what are your friends like? What's your tribe like? What tribes do you have? Like, do you just sit at your computer all day and your tribe is like some users group on Reddit? Right? Is that what you consider your tribe? And I'm always saying you probably have more tribes than you really realize that you have. So if you go to church or if you have some Bible study thing, that's your tribe for that moment. I play in a band. The guys that I play in the band with, that's my music tribe when it's time to go and rehearse and it's time to go create music. When I'm at the gym, if I'm working out with a couple of my workout partners, that's my gym tribe right there. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that they have way more tribes than they actually do. Your family, of course, should be your first tribe because that's your blood. But then you got to remember that when you're out with your friends or if you're at work or if you have some social kind of thing, like look for tribes that you're already in. Most people don't even realize that they are because they'll have friends that they have in one sort of sphere and they have other friends in another sphere. Those are really your tribes because one of the things about human nature is human beings are innately tribalistic, and that is a feature, not a bug of human nature.
Yes. And here's the other thing is that, like, for me, getting my guy friends in access to places, taking my guy friends to meet girls, or like you notice, Rolo, I don't know if you noticed this at my birthday, I was constantly trying to like set people up. I don't know if you saw this. I was constantly
trying to do the same thing with Jason Harden.
Yeah. I was constantly trying to introduce my brothers, like, who's going on with my brother tonight? I was constantly trying, because if you're one of my friends, you're going to meet a lot of girls. That's just something that happens if you're one of my friends. So that's a value, or that's a benefit that's conferred upon you if you're in my group, which makes people want to be in my group. That's one of the things. But here's the other thing I want to point out. It's not a chore for me to bring my friends where I'm going. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege for me. Does everybody understand? It's and just like when Jason Strauss gives me tickets to go on the Marquee Sky Deck at Electric Daisy Carnival, and he's like, bring as many girls as you want. That's when I bring those. It's a privilege. It's a privilege for him. I'm not saying like it's a privilege for him to have me show up, but it's a privilege for him to own Tao Hakkasan, to be the most powerful man in the world in nightlife, to be able to just wave his hand and all of his friends get all of this benefit, all this blood and treasure that he had been working for to build up to. All of them get this benefit. You understand what I'm saying? Same thing like when Dan Bilzerian gets on his jet and he's like, you know what? You're my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend. Let's take these 17 girls. Let's get on this jet and let's just go somewhere. It's not a chore for Dan. It's a privilege for him. Does everybody understand? It's so it's a privilege for me to get one of my favorite authors into one of the biggest nightclub in the world right now, and to party with him on stage so he can see what was going on. That was a privilege for me. Does everybody understand how that's different? It's not a chore, and he's not taking advantage of me. It's one of these situations where I enjoy doing it, just like I did with Justin Waller when Justin Waller was the judge at my bikini competition.
I'll tell you what's funny is like, that's how I met you, was through Justin. Justin's part of one tribe that I have out in Miami who also happens to know you. You know who else knows you that I didn't know? Was Mike Tang, who was also another tribe. He did my photo shoot back in May. He'll call you family. He starts every single live stream. He starts it out with family. And it's like, when you talk to him, he like includes you as like, family, as a tribes member kind of thing. And I mean, to the point where he literally sounds like he runs the tribe of Mike Tang, right? And then I come to find out that you know Mike personally, and I'm like, damn, we're all in the same tribe.
Awesome, man. Hey, I want to tell all the people who are watching us right now on YouTube, I put the link in the chat. I want you to join us on Zoom so I can ask questions. I'm going to go back to more questions. Rolo can be on until
Yeah,
the
whatever.
Raiders,
It's okay. Until the Raiders get the ball.
Raiders Chiefs kickoff here. Ready? So let's go to our next question right here. What's your question, man?
Yo, what's up? I have a question for Rolo. So you're talking about in the Access Vegas podcast, you're talking about how you would open, and Mike talks about breaking rapport. So like, if you're like at a nightclub trying to meet people, like how would you open with them?
Okay. So are you talking about like opening with women or opening with just like a social group, like like people that you don't know, or is it
Yeah,
just
like
a woman in
mainly,
particular?
yeah, like mainly women in particular.
Mainly women in particular. Okay, so I have my fifth book is called The Player's Handbook, and I go through a lot of sort of the practical aspects of game, of social. I hate to even call it game these days because it's really social intelligence and it's social skills, and those social skills in this sense or in this context apply towards intersexual dynamics. So an opening, approaching a woman, thinking about what you're going to say as far as like being a good conversationalist and stuff like that. That all starts with what Mike was just referring to a minute ago, which is reading a room. And there's a difference between like reading a room and reading a person. So have you ever been in like say a carnival, or if you like, I don't know where else they do this, but like I'm thinking of like a state fair or something, and you're going through the games section there, and there's always some guy there who can like guess your weight for like, $5 or whatever. And if he doesn't get your weight, then you get a prize, or he can guess what your profession is, or he can guess how old you are within a certain tolerance, like 5 to 6 years or something like that. And the reason why those guys are so good is because they're very good at the cold read. They can tell what that person is about just by the clothes that they wear, just how they handle themselves, the words that they use, maybe even like their vocal inflections. We get a lot more information from people just from like sub communications, whether it's like vocal intonations, facial features, body language. What did that person decide to wear at that particular time? If you're talking about a club environment, that's you're making a read from that context. If you're at like say you're in college or you're at a school or something like that, then you're in a different context. And so it depends on what those zones are per the person that you're talking to and you're trying to make a read on. So for instance, I am 54 years old. If I'm going, most of the women that I see, in these clubs are always younger than, with very, very rare exception, they're younger than I am. So I already have that kind of what's known as a muse mastery. Like I'm already older and I'm more mature, and there's this expectation that I know things that this person does not know. So I play upon that, and I use that that natural instinct as sort of leverage when I'm trying to find some way to say open a conversation. But I'll tell you the easiest way to go about this is to presume familiarity with that person, and to suddenly become like you've known that person all your life. There used to be this technique, and I don't know if Mike really knows about this or not, but there used to be I don't call it a technique, but there used to be this way of opening where you would presume a familiarity with that person, in this case, women. But you would be like, you maybe call out this girl's name and say, "Hey, Michelle, I thought, we were going to go over and you go, oh, you're not Michelle. Oh, sorry, I screwed up. You look like my friend Michelle, and so you start, and that triggers the conversation to something else so that you can springboard from that into other conversation. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. You look just like my friend Michelle, right? And then that pushes you into a more natural conversation. That seems kind of schmaltzy and everything else, but what happens is even if you flub it up, at least you're kind of like, oh, hey, my bad, whatever, and then you can go from there. It's a presumption of familiarity. If you look at me, if one of the things I try to tell guys is, if you look at what I do with the women that I'm with on Fresh and Fit, if I'm ever doing one of the after hour shows, you'll see that the girls to the left and the right of me, you'll see them like leaning on me a little bit, or they're kind of like bumping into me, like I'm like their dad, or I'm their older brother or something like that. That's because prior to getting onto the show and the show going live, I'm already sort of working working the room, but I'm already presuming familiarity with women who are younger than me, who want to feel comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. So I have to remember what the environment is like and what those girls are going to feel like, because they're not like masters of that context. There's in a lot of cases, they're just as kind of like either confused or not as confident as you think they are, because they're dressed in a certain way. But like when you're there at that moment, you have to say, okay, this is the environment. This is the context. This is the age of this girl. This is what she wore. She decided to wear this. She's with friends. She's sociable. She's not sociable. There's a lot of things to read before you can actually make an approach, in the sense like, well, hey, like if you saw a girl who's just kind of like, kind of out of it, and she's watching her friends, do her, jump up and down, and she's not the one that's partying with her girlfriends, then you're like, you can presume that the idea is that perhaps she's not like, she's not as social as her friends, or she's not feeling, and that you could sort of key in on that. Or if the girl's like, for instance, CJ Sparks, CJ and I like hit it off like that. Like we're rubbing up on each other, and she's just like, she's very pawing, and she's very kind of like a hugger kind of thing. If you meet someone like that and you read that, like she was so easy to read. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that she makes herself easy to read. Then Jamie Villamore, I talked to her for probably about 45 minutes at your birthday dinner, Mike. I don't know if you knew about that.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
But I already
I wanted her to sit next to you. I was like, this girl has a master's degree and her own
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
I wanted her to sit next to you.
And here's what I did. Well, of course, it's easier today because you can go on a woman's Instagram and you can sort of see what they're about. Jamie's easy because she's a shooter, and she's very proud of the fact that she's like a sports shooter and a hunter and everything else. That was my key, because I do bow hunting occasionally, and I'm a fisherman, and so there's that kind of connection right there. So I know there's something to talk about, and from that little thread, that little breadcrumb, that thread, I go into other threads of conversation with her. Now, I'm not trying to fuck, Jamie Villamore, but I can carry a conversation with a woman who's a very beautiful woman who I just met right there on the spot. And we didn't want to stop talking when it was time to go to the club. Man, it was like 45 minutes later. So it's looking for environment, and it's reading a woman and then figuring out what's the best way to sort of trigger a conversation based on presumptions that you have about her.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. Thank
Probably
you.
probably more than you needed. I'm sorry. If I get rolling, feel free to
Rolo, that was great. I will say this is another thing. We talk about this a lot of times, Rolo, is that, I have a bunch of female friends, and what'll happen is it'll be me and CJ Sparks. And like, I should just let CJ tell the story sometime. It'll be me, CJ Sparks, and she'll bring 7 girls, and we'll all go to dinner or whatever. And I'm just being friends with all of them. And there's never been an instance where one of them doesn't just like become assertive or aggressive towards me. Because this is what I was trying to explain before. I told you a story about some pre-selection. I'm not going to share the story in here. It's a little bit personal, but I will share a story from the book, The Setup by Dan Bilzerian, where he's been trying to have sex with Hannah Palmer for a long time. And so while he's trying to have sex with her, she doesn't want to have sex with him. She's just like blowing him off. So do you guys remember what he did? He goes outside, he finds another girl, starts hooking up with that other girl in front of Hannah. After he hooks up with her, she leaves. Hannah comes back and has sex with him. I'm just saying it was in the book. It's in the book. I didn't write the book. I will tell you, though, things like that, exactly like that, have happened to me.
That is pre-selection, and that is provoking. Well, first of all, I could say that's overt dread, but I kind of would call it passive dread, because he didn't exactly go over and say, hey, if you don't fuck me, I'm going to fuck this other bitch.
That's right? Exactly. He did not say a word about it. Yes.
Passive. He provoked passive dread using social proof to get to the point where he was like, okay, I really want to have sex with this chick. How am I going to do that? I can't go over there and explain it to her directly. So I'm going to go over and leverage from this girl to the interest of another girl. All that is just passive dread is what that is. And it's provoking it because it's provoking a sense of urgency. If I don't get with this guy, this other bitch is going to steal him. Awesome. Hey, let me ask you something else. Okay. So since we're talking about like reading women, like CJ was easy to read. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean, she's just bubbly, and I kind of understand her personality type, right?
Yeah.
But Jamie Villamore, I could already tell she's very proud of herself. And deservedly so. I'm not saying she doesn't, but I get that read from her, because that's what she's about. She wants something more out of life. I got that within the first 5 minutes of talking with her.
For her to be that beautiful and that down to earth is very rare.
Yes.
She's been the most beautiful woman in every room she's been in her whole life.
So Jamie was an easy read. CJ was an easy read. Isabella is a fairly easy read. Who's not an easy read, and I don't even remember her name, but you pointed her out when we were in Zook, and she was like the Playboy model that really fucking fine ass girl that was there, and she was kind of off to the side somewhere. She
Are we
wasn't,
talking
like,
about
in with the
that
mass
came
of
with
us, right?
us?
And she was a harder read. So like, what would have been your read on that girl?
Are we talking about
The girl,
Elizabeth?
I think
Or are
she
we
was
talking about Ambry?
No, it wasn't Ambry. Well, because I know Ambry. It was another girl.
Okay,
It was not Ambry.
Here's a great thing, man. So the day before you met her, she came on my podcast.
Mhm.
She came on my podcast on the 5th. So I got to sit down with her for 3 hours and talk to her at dinner and then interview her for another hour and a half. Very difficult to read. So when I met her, one of the things that had happened, and by the way, my friend Bree Stern, hey guys, shout out to all the guys in Paradise Challenge. You remember Bree? Bree was running around. This is not, oh, is Isabella here? Isabella's here. Hey, shout out to Isabella. Hold on, where's she at?
Hi.
There she is. Hey, oh,
There
you're stuck
she
in traffic.
is.
She's in Los Angeles right now.
Oh.
So what?
Yeah.
Sometimes there are girls who just want attention. Sometimes there's guys who just want attention too, right? And the thing is, in her situation, what I would see her do was, I won't say the guy's name, but the guy who bought us the villa later on that night, she would go get attention from him, and then he would give attention, and then she would come over to me, and just, it was almost like, I needed attention, and then I would get more attention, and then I would get attention. And what happens is, it's very similar to where, and I'm not comparing her to a stripper, obviously she's a playmate, but it's one of these situations where if you go to a strip club and a girl comes up and she's like, oh my God, you're so cute. You don't know how to read that. Because you know what, Rolo, there's been times where you probably walked into a strip club and a girl said you were cute and she meant it.
Mhm.
But you don't know, because every time you go into a strip club, you don't know, you think they're running games. So you don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
As far as reading her, the thing with me, Rolo, is that I'm just going to do me.
Yeah.
And then just kind of see where everything goes. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. And that's
Yeah.
you. But like from the I forgot the guy's name who asked me the question here just a minute ago. But from that perspective, who isn't like schooled or isn't like doesn't
Yeah.
have the depth of experience that you or I have.
Yeah.
From that perspective, how would that be? What would the read be on that girl?
I don't
It's
know
hard to
that
pull yourself out of it, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know that I would try to read. So does that, so here's the thing, right? Do you remember Bo Jackson, right? We'll use somebody you remember. So Bo Jackson, what's supposed to happen is if they run a pitch play, what's supposed to happen is the tight end's supposed to get that hook block, and the wide receiver is supposed to take on the safety, and then he's supposed to be one-on-one with the cornerback. But sometimes that doesn't happen, and he's got to run a motherfucker over. He doesn't matter. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm with you. But as far as how do you read it, I don't worry about reading it. What I do is I put my arm around CJ.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Brad,
I
what are you
hear
doing?
you.
Hold on, time out. Who is Brad Dollar? Homie, you got to stop doing. What is going on here? Okay, please, brother, don't do that again, or we're gonna kick you out of the chat. So what happens is, you're gonna put your arm around. I'm gonna put my arm around CJ. I'm gonna put my arm around Kalen, and I'm just gonna have a good time. And I might go over and say, hey, and then see what happens. The problem that I've seen, Rolo, is that when I'm talking, this is not just girls. This is also guys. Like for a long time, I would go out and I would bump into Vegas Dave. I don't know if a lot of you guys know who Vegas Dave is. Vegas Dave always has this angry look on his face. It's not an angry look. It's just this normal face. It's just like this all the time. And I would leave his table. Dave had to stop me one time, Rolo, and he told me, I'll need you to know that you're always welcome at my table. I was like, oh man, I didn't know, because your face, bro, you just look angry. He's like, I understand that. But that's for other people. That's to keep other motherfuckers away. You are always welcome at my table. He had to tell me that. So the point is, Rolo, the read doesn't always matter to me, especially in a social situation where I can't hear people talk. I'm just going to show value and just have a good time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to know. So like, for instance, like when we talk about that girl, Elizabeth, or if we talk about Isabella, who's on here right now, Isabella, she's constantly going to be approached by dudes who are uncalibrated, and they're just going to shoot their shot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
There's a way to, in a calibrated way, speak to every woman or man, and not have to worry about that. There's a way, and the way I like to do it, honestly, is that if I were to walk up to a beautiful woman I liked and I had kindly with me, or if I walked up to a beautiful woman, or if I walked to Elon Musk and I had kindly with me, I'm just more approachable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you. See, I have been working with women in it, like I guess in a professional capacity for a long time.
Yes.
So whether I'm working for like IGT or the casino marketing industry, or if I'm working in wine and spirits or something, I'm the one who has to sort of be the one who's vocal. Like you see me on my show all the time. I have to be sort of at least somewhat, extroverted. I'm really probably not as extroverted as a lot of people think I am because I do of what I do. But when I'm say like I'm at like the CME or I'm at an event or I'm at some, if I'm hanging out with Robert Kiyosaki and I'm at like say a Rebel Capitalist or something, and I'm in an elevator, right? And a hot chick comes in, or like there's a few beautiful women there. I will just joke around with them. I'll just to fuck around. It's enjoyable to me to just say, hey, like make some comment about whatever it is that they're talking about, kind of thing. And they kind of nod their heads and they know that you're sort of like suddenly you become in that group for just a very brief moment that you're in the fucking elevator, and then you're off and you're on to something else. It's in those moments right there where you're kind of like, okay, I triggered a conversation. I did this just simply because I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. But it's also, once you get into the habit of that, once you get into the practice of that, and you are calibrated, as you said, and you are congruent with the way that you look and the way that you present yourself and what's coming out of your mouth at the same time. And I think a lot of guys have a really a tough time with the what they project like physically, as opposed to what the words and the conversation that's coming out of their mouth. I think it's got to be a practice skill. After a while, you get comfortable with it. But I do see what you're saying, because a lot of guys, and Justin Waller's a lot like this too. Justin Waller will be able to, like, because he's so good looking, he's so tall, and he has this charisma and this like magnetic personality that he can sit in a room and women will be attracted to him just because he's there. So it's easy for him to just sit there and display higher value just by being there. Just his presence is there, because other women will want to come and talk to him, and then that triggers social proof, and it triggers a pre-selection. But for guys who just don't have that, when they're developing that, whether it's through style or their body or through game or through whatever it is, to be able to just sort of sit there and not be, a lot of those guys are just, they're the ones who are just sitting over there while you're in another part of the club and everybody's flocking towards you.
So here's the thing. There's two things: attract her and read her, right? You asked about reading her.
Yes.
So to the short answer to your question is Liz wanted attention. That's just how she is, right? Liz
She wanted you to come to her. Yeah.
Well, but she wanted attention, but like but what I'm saying is, if she rubbed her butt on me or ignored me, her level of attraction towards me was not part of this equation, because I've seen Liz just wanted attention. So because I knew Liz wanted attention, I was like, well, I have a buddy of mine here who's worth several $100 million and owns a Bugatti, and he's buying us the room for the after party. So I introduced Liz to that guy.
Right.
Do you remember?
Yeah. Yep.
And so I was like, well, she wants attention. How about getting attention from the guy from the Bugatti, who obviously wanted attention from beautiful women, and they kind of matched. I don't know if you saw later on.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of like paired off, because that was the read that I got. And I want to see how far each one of those people would take it. I was busy with my own occupation that night. So I wanted to see what was going on. But as far as reading her, that was one thing. As far as attracting her, so the triggers, again, I will always go back to the book, Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Cindy Meston. For men, the way we are attracted is called positive kurtosis. It's a very narrow distribution. So normal distribution would look like this. It's a narrow distribution for men. It's just like facial symmetry, hip to waist ratio, signs of youth,
the boner test.
Yeah. Very much like, put a 1 in the chat if Selma Hayek from Dusk Till Dawn was attractive. Put a 1 in the chat if you think she was attractive. If you think that Margot Robbie in I'll
give you
Wolf
one
of
for
Wall
her.
Street was attractive, put a 1 in the chat. Okay. Do you understand? But like, the thing is, none of us thought she was ugly. I don't care if you're like, I'm only into thick Puerto Rican girls. Margot Robbie is still fine in that movie. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's like Jessica Biel when she was like 21, 22. Nobody thinks Jessica Biel wasn't fine. As men, we have a very narrow attraction range. For women, you heard CJ Sparks saying, why the fuck do we care about what men look like? We heard, by the way, I love this. I'm gonna call Jamie Villamore out for this, okay? I know who Jamie Villamore was dating recently. 6-pack abs, looks like a male stripper. You remember when she said, I would never date a male stripper? I'll show you the guy she was dating. He just happened. Now, she wasn't dating him because
to look like a male stripper.
she wasn't like, she couldn't see his shirt off when she met him, but he definitely looks like that. So it was really interesting that she said that to me, because I was like, I know who you're dating. CJ is not lying. You guys obviously know CJ was dating the president of the largest dating company in the world. I'm not going to say which one, but you guys have probably figured out who it is. That was his ex-girlfriend. CJ did not really care about looks. I will also tell you with Ambry, I've seen with Ambry with dudes veined up, muscled, big fucking dudes, and I've seen Ambry with like normal dudes. It's just different. Isabella has a unique taste as well. So, it all changes depending on the girl. So how awesome would this be, Rolo? If like it was just because I'll tell you, a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, found you attractive. She told me when we were at one of the models, because you look like the rocker guy. You had the rocker jacket on, and you had the long hair, and you look like a guitar player. And which was her,
because I am.
because you are a guitar player.
Yep.
So just imagine if we could take everyone that was all about Rolo and the guitar playing, we'll just call it an avatar. They were all about that. And let's just put them all in a room. And then all the girls that aren't into that, let's just get them out of the room. And now we're in a room with 100 girls, and all they care about is that avatar, or the male stripper Jason Momoa avatar, or the nerdy guy avatar, the Elon Musk rich guy, whatever the avatar, whatever the attractive.
Travis our tech avatar.
Travis our tech avatar. Listen, Travis gets girls. Don't believe he does. He don't believe he does. So how can we do that? How could we use a funnel? Like you and I use sales funnels, right? You remember David D'Angelo, Evan Pagan? He was the king of the squeeze page. We all use funnels in our sales process. Why couldn't we use funnels for something like this? And the answer is we can, right? What are my funnels? My funnels are social media, charity events, my birthday parties, bikini competitions. These are my funnels. Does that make sense? So now I'm just sort of funnel. What is Dan Bilzerian? What's his funnel? Come to the Ignite party. Come to my house. If you're not about Dan, you're not going to his house. But if you go into his house, you're going to travel all that way to go to his house, and you're going to put on bikinis with his logo on it. You're kind of, it's almost like having, Rolo, you're aware what a setter is and a closer in like sales?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right. So Dan has two girls. One of them is named Masha Diduk, the girl who won my bikini competition. She picks the girls that end up going and modeling for Dan. So she would be like a setter. Right. So that was, before that, I don't know if you remember that show, Shit Show, the girl, what's her name? If somebody remind me what her name was. It's not the Rose chick. It was the other one. I can't remember. She
Bianca
used to be Bianca Gezzi. Bianca Gezzi was a setter for Ignite. So that's the thing. Like, how do we do that? We use this whole massive thing called social media, and then we just like, hey, the rest of y'all that are not about what I'm about, hey, have a great day. Here's some funny memes for you. The rest of you who are about what I'm about, I'm trying to rescue some animals on Friday. You want to come? And then what happens? I end up in a room full of beautiful Instagram models, like you saw, that were all about animal rescue, and I'm all about animal rescue. See how that worked out? It was beautiful. That's what networking creates for you. It doesn't just funnel in the good people that you want in your life. It funnels out the people that really just don't have any value for you. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So how incredible, everybody who's on this call, there's a reality where you could be in a room full of just women that are attracted to you. How amazing would that be? But it kind of exists if you combine Instagram with Facebook, with Tinder, with YouTube, with going to the club, with going on stage at Zoo, with the Marquee, or with the Maxim party, or going to Babes in Toilet. You can create those situations if you really want to, but you have to make up your mind that's what you want. Now, here's the other thing, because Rolo, we don't just talk about dating on here. If you're a real estate agent, you're looking for mortgage brokers. If you're an accountant, if you're trying to get all the car dealerships in your city together, you use the exact same techniques. But here's the trick. It's fucking easier.
Yeah.
Nothing is harder than rounding up those girls. Rounding up those girls is that's hard. That's all Madden. All Madden. Getting mortgage brokers to come to your party where you cater the party and you have a couple of hot girls there and you're filming it and you've got like some live music. That's easy. That's playing Madden on rookie mode. That's easy. Right. Getting dudes to come to places where there's free food and alcohol. Do you know how fucking easy that is? I'm going to get away from my wife for a couple hours. Are you kidding me? Getting dudes to come to your accounting event, or hey, Michael, I want to network with all the other yacht owners in Miami or whatever that thing is. The top is influencers. Always, as far as events are concerned, the top is influencers. That's why the Playboy Mansion was the hardest ticket. It was the hardest place to get into. Go
Let
ahead.
me on that, to that note right there, because I think a lot of people, whenever they hear like the word game or like pickup artists or whatever, like I have my fifth book is called The Player's Handbook, and it's really about the techniques and the psychology behind those techniques. It's not a how-to book, it's a why it works book. And in the introduction, I also explain this, is that game is not just for picking up girls. It's for dealing with your mom. It's for dealing with your female boss. It's for it can get you out of a speeding ticket. It just depends on how you apply the social skills and the social intelligence and the things that you didn't learn that are definitely, most people like say, well, how do I get girls, Rolo? Well, that's all you're saying, is how do I develop these social skills so that I can have a conversation, and that can go from being single and sexless to getting into to becoming intimate, having sex, or developing a family, forming a family later on down the line, whatever your choice to use it is. That's how they get into it. And then they find that the same social skills have multiple applications. So it will help you in a job interview. It will help you when you're networking with the guy who's going to get you that next, real estate gig. It will help you talk to guys like Robert Kiyosaki just out of the blue, right? It will help you in so many other situations that are they might be related to beautiful women, but they're also related to conversing and having this and being able reading a room. Reading women is one thing. Reading a room and reading a guy who is going to be your potential business associate, that's another thing. But it's the same skill set that you're using to find out, do I really want to work with this guy or do I not? Do I really want to fuck this girl or do I really not? So along the way, I should have pointed this out as well, is when and if you're making approaches or you're interacting with women, it's not just about, oh, I can't wait to fuck this chick. It's also, can I deal with this chick in my circle? Do I want this association with this person? That comes along with the read. And so, as I've said before, I've actually done this. I have used game to get out of speeding tickets, not only from the cop that's pulled me over, but also when I get the ticket and I go in before the judge and I sit there and I use exactly the same sort of game techniques or the game of social skills that I've learned along the way when I'm talking to the judge and saying, hey, look, that I didn't know it was 25 miles an hour and I was going 50, that kind of stuff. There's ways to use it and apply it in different applications. And I don't think a lot of people are really aware of that.
Nice. All right, let's get to some more questions because Rolo's time is valuable here. Hey, son, what's your question, brother?
Hey guys, I'm driving. Let me turn my video on so you can actually see me. And there I am. So forgive me. I am going to be looking at the road, but I've been a big fan of you, Rolo, for a long time. I'm talking like a decade. Absolutely love the podcast you and Michael did. Here's my question for you, man. How will you introduce your children to the red pill? Because my intention here is to minimize that red pill rage period, quote unquote. And I noticed guys in their early 20s, they tend to stay in that period a little longer than most, but guys in their mid to late 20s, after they build up a little life experience, they can click it in much faster. So how would you go about minimizing that period, especially teaching young people, keeping the future in mind?
Right. Okay. So 2 books, my second book and my third book, actually, I addressed this. The second book that I wrote was called Preventive Medicine. And that book is based around one long timeline of what guys can sort of expect from women at different phases of women's maturity. Okay. It's knowing what to expect. So when I wrote that, the whole purpose or the impetus for me to write that was I had all these guys coming up to me after the first book saying, Rolo, I wish I would have had this information before I got divorced, before I got married, before I got divorced, before I decided to move to a different state, before I changed majors, before I changed my career to accommodate this chick. I really wish I would have known this shit all, beforehand. So I'm like, okay, it seems to me like I need to write a preventative book for guys so that they don't fall into those pitfalls, right? So how do you go about your first part of your question was like the red pill rage side, and right. In my first book I go through what's called the 5 stages of unplugging, which are also like parallel to the 5 stages of grief, denial, acceptance, and all that stuff. And the reason why I go through those and I make those comparisons is because the way you used to think when you were sort of, quote unquote, in the matrix, in the blue pill kind of thing. And now you've taken the red pill and you see what's really going on around you. You see you're not using the same kind of rule book that everybody told you that everyone was playing by. And you are now sort of cut away from that. What happens is you kind of have to let go of your old self and become something new in a new red pill paradigm, because once you put the red pill lens on and you see things the way they are, you can never take it off again. And so like guys really want to go back, but they can't go back after that. There's no like plugging yourself back into the matrix once you've been unplugged. So what happens is a lot of those guys get despondent and they get nihilistic because they realize that they can't have all those blue pill, idealistic fantasies of what they've been sold for a very, very long time. So one of the 5 stages of unplugging is anger. And it's not this anger, this red pill rage at women. It is at themselves. And that's what you have to, I think the key to getting over that phase is to understand that it's applying that anger is misdirecting it towards women. It's really at the guy who feels angry because for so long he's believed that this is the rule book that everybody's using, and suddenly nobody else is actually using this. And oh my God, I've wasted potential. I've maxed out the wrong stats on my character of life, right? And I should have made different decisions back then than I did right now. I wish I would have known this shit before I made these decisions. And I wish I would have had your book when I was 16 and not when I'm 60. How can I then prevent my children from making the same mistakes? Well, that's why I wrote that book. Of course, I also wrote the 3rd book, Preventive Positive Masculinity, for guys who were red pill, who had children, who had kids. I got a lot of questions from guys who had sons who were saying, Rolo, how do I teach my sons, or how do I, when should I give my kids or my sons the rational male so they can read the rational male so they can avoid these pitfalls? And I'm like, it kind of depends on, like, are they readers and what are they about? I don't want some guy saying, here, Johnny, you're 9 years old, read the rational male. That's not going to sink in. So what I did is for the first half of that book, I talked about how you as a red pill parent can exemplify this and demonstrate it and not explicate it to them until such time that they're ready to be able to sort of absorb it. So that was the drive, I think, for the first half of that book. But when I'm talking about like anger, when I'm talking about denial, when I'm talking about like acceptance and all that stuff for the 5 stages of unplugging, the anger phase is probably the one that is the hardest for a lot of guys, particularly in this generation, to get over, because they really enjoy commiserating with each other about oh, how awful women are. Oh, how awful this is. I thought that that I was going to have my virgin bride, and I thought women were going to be these sweet little virginic girls and wait for me. And it's like, no, that's not how it is. That was the old rule book that you thought everybody was playing by. You have this new rule book, and you need to understand that you have more opportunity and you have a better understanding of your own nature, women's nature, and using that to your advantage. You have such an advantage over like the vast majority of guys, because you know this stuff, because you have read all of this before, or you have experienced it through Mike, or you're going out and you're practicing it. You have such an advantage that you just, like, a lot of guys don't have the creativity or the patience or the really the insight to be able to apply it so that they can leverage it. So rather than do that, they would rather sort of mire themselves in this despondency and this nihilism. And then when they commiserate with other guys online, they never really get out of that. And so that's why that's been one of my crusades, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years, is to kick people out of that and to say, look, you have a lot more opportunity, a lot more potential in a red pill paradigm than you did in your blue pill paradigm.
Love that. Love the reframe. I coach a lot of young guys, and I think that reframe is exactly what I'm looking for. I did read the first 2 books, but I did not get around to that 3rd one. So it sounds like I really need to get to that and in religion. So thank you, Rolo, for everything you've done and you're continuing to do. Michael, I don't want to be rude, man. Ramiz invited me. Do you mind if I do a quick plug here?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, right on, man. So if you guys are looking to build your businesses, but you don't know how to sell, hit me up. Hey Somali on Instagram, HEYSUMALI. I'm a high ticket closer, but I also coached for RSD for a couple of years. So I have a very inside view of the culture and everything. So if you're trying to sell online, if you want to learn how to sell, DM me on Instagram. Hey, Somali. Thank you guys for your time.
All right, Haysom. Hey, Haysom, if you are you in MOA? Haysom?
No, I was invited by Ramiz, my friend Ramiz.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Well, if you want a high ticket sales job that pays more than probably any other job you've had before, you might want to apply with us.
I'm gonna hit you up for sure.
Okay, yeah,
100%.
we're doing over. Well, I'll let you, Tristan. The numbers you will not believe. Okay, I promise you.
Good. Good. That's what I like to hear, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll contact you through Ramiz.
Beautiful. We need salespeople. We need all of you guys. Any of you guys are high ticket salespeople. We are looking for you vehemently. Luke, what's going on, man? What's your question? By the way, CJ was in for a second
just a minute ago too.
So she I think she's at an AA meeting, or I don't know exactly where she's at, but I think she had to step out for a second. Anyway, go ahead, Luke. What's your question?
Rolo, what's your band's favorite song to play?
Our favorite song to play? You mean of our original set?
Yeah.
Oh, well, mine is Phoenix, but definitely. I play in a band called Trial of Ascension. In case everybody doesn't know, you can find us on Spotify. We released our third EP in August, and I think that from the previous EP, it's called Phoenix. It's the title track. That's my favorite one to play.
Sweet, awesome, cool, thanks.
Easy
Beautiful.
one. All right, thank you. I love it.
Gabriel, what's your question?
Hello. My question is for creating and curating a sexual zone. What would be the best way to go about it without having any libations or spirits?
We got to turn recording off. Hold on, guys. We got to turn the record. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Go ahead, Rolo. This is usually where we turn the recording off.
No, it's fine. No, what he's asking me about is like greasing the bullshit machine with alcohol. If I don't miss my guess. Okay, now you're asking the right person, because I have worked in wine and spirits for 25 years. So I think I might have told you this joke too, Mike. It's like, to be the only sober person in the club after 2 a.m. is like a superpower.
It is.
Because everybody else is really kind of hammered, and you're the only one who knows how to, if you're doing regular things and you seem like Superman doing it. What I would say is this is, and I've told other guys this, there's guys who think that paying for pussy is the way to go. Okay. Like putting money down, or buying box, paying for box. And I know this is a snappy little, saying, but it's like, if you buy a man a hooker, you get him laid for a night. If you teach a man game, you get him laid for a lifetime. So what that means to me is like, I want to be able to use the skills and use the theory and put it into the practice and use it and have it be something that I can use reliably all the time, without the crutch of either having to pay for it or having to get some liquid courage to go out there and ask girls out or anything like that. I don't drink. I know that Mike doesn't drink. I know that CJ doesn't drink. I know that and Isabella does not drink as well. I would also point this out to you as well, Gabriel, is that Myron does not drink from Fresh and Fit, and Fresh does not drink either. Everyone who I know who is a huge success right now, especially in this sphere, is sober and has been for a while. I've worked in wine. It's not that I haven't drank in the past. I've not drank since almost like 5 years now. I stopped drinking right before I started writing the third book. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to be so totally focused on that book that I didn't want to be like worrying about recovering from drinking on a Friday night and then going, okay, God, I got to do this book now. It was this constant state of recovering from partying and then having to go and be like on like 100% bulletproof all the time. And I'm just like, I'll tell you what, I made a deal with myself. I said, I'm not going to drink until this book is finished. And then 3 years later, I'm like, okay, I haven't drank for 3 years. And I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have a drink. And now that I'm done with the book, and I found that I didn't want to, because I'm a more effective person when it comes to writing, when it comes to doing what I'm doing right now, whether it's online or I'm doing a show. The reason why I do what I do right now is because I can be 100% focused on things. I can still get up early. I can get up at 4 a.m., which is when my best writing time is. I go work out after that. And I have this routine now that is based on a lifestyle that does not include alcohol at all. So how do you apply that to your personal life? I have a tough time with this right now, quite honestly, because I used to be the guy who would go and after my gig or after whatever it was I was doing in the industry, I would go and have a drink and I would just party it up and have a good time with my friends, right? No problem. I don't have anything. Clearly, I don't have any. I still have ownership stake in 2 brands of liquor right now. I don't have. Please drink more, but I'm not against alcohol per se. I'm just saying that for me to be a more effective human, to be a more effective writer, to be a more effective person, I don't drink. And now that's my personal decision. I've never had a DUI. I've never been to AA. It's just something I said, I'm done. I'm good with it. Right. So when I apply that to say like going out to the clubs, what you're probably, I think I know what your first question is going to be like, because I run into this too. If I go out and I'm at a club and I'm out there till 2 a.m. and I'm hanging out with everybody and they're tossing them back and everything, and they're having a good time, that alcohol that's going on right there, that's what they're there to do. So if I'm there at that club, I got to find something to do or I'm going to go home. I could spend my time better writing the next book. I could spend my time better, developing the next show. I could use my time for more productive things than being out in a club. And that's something you kind of got to get your head out of, because you're not there for that. You're there to network. You're there to socialize. You're there to enjoy the moment. You're there to meet women as well. So what I've always said is, for guys who are using the game sober, I think that, like, a lot of people think that it's on hard mode. I don't think so at all. I think it's on easy mode. If you are the sober guy in the club and using game at that point, I think it's easier to read people when they're a little bit buzzed, because, they say, it's like truth serum, that's how they really are when they're, when they're hammered. I think that it is much easier. I think it's much easier to run game or to do approaches or to understand even the personality or do the reads of these of people when you're sober rather than when you're hammered. So I think the hardest part that guys have, though, is sort of justifying, do I really want to go out? Because if I go out, everybody's going to be hammered. It's not that I'm worried about drinking. It's just like, I don't want to do that. I could use my time for better spent as something else. You also have to sort of weigh those options and say, well, I'm going out there to socialize. I'm going out there to meet women. I'm not going out there to drink. I'm going out there for another purpose. Getting your head into that space is one thing. Another thing is, perhaps there's a woman there who is gorgeous and she also is sober as well. That automatically puts you have something in common right then and there. So look for those situations where you can sort of make those connections.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Let's go to Lou. Lou, what's your question, brother? Liu, Lou.
Hi,
Lou. There you are.
Yeah, I've been following the podcast that included you for a while. After hanging out with Michael, Justin, and also Fresh and Fit, what do you think that separate them from the majority, and how can someone reach to a level like theirs?
As for a level like theirs, is a level as in like success? Like
Yes.
what's our metric here? What are we talking about?
Successful with their career, and of course with women included too.
Mm-hmm.
That level.
Okay. I will tell you what separates Myron and Fresh from the rest of the herd. Okay. And I'll do this by telling you a story. Okay. So I have been working with Myron and Fresh since January. Well, actually I've been working with Myron before I knew Fresh. I've known Myron since probably like August of 2020, I think. He was a member of Rule Zero, which is our panel show. And then he said, hey, we're starting the show. It's called Fresh and Fit. It's going to be in Miami. He was just begging me. He said, please, can you come to our show? And this was like January of 2021. And I'm like, sure, no problem. And then he told me that he was also going to have Hotep Jesus there. And he's a friend of mine. So I'm like, yeah, I would love to go out there and do that. So they flew me out. I went out there. They put me up there, and they were at 20,000 subs on YouTube at that time. And the strength of their show is one simple fact: is Myron knows the red pill. He knows the theory. He knows the David Buss stuff. He knows the evolutionary psychology. He's read probably every single one of my books, maybe not the fifth one, but he's read every single one of my books. He constantly quotes me. He or paraphrases me, and I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with that because he attributes. He's like, he has me on, and he's saying, big ups to the Rational Male, blah blah blah. Fine, cool. But the real secret is the fact that he has a foundation and an understanding in the subject and the topic that he's talking about. You could also make the same case for Kevin Samuels. Okay. You could also make the same case for Andrew Tate. They have a founding, or they have a root, let's just say, at the very least, a rudimentary root in the red pill, understanding in my case, 20 years of having, gone through this and just doing what I, doing my work and doing all this stuff. They know this stuff. So when they took that and they put it into something that has sort of had a mass appeal, and particularly in the Black manosphere, or really Black Twitter, then it became the Black manosphere at that time, that was a very big attraction. But the number one thing that they did is they built a studio and they had a place for everyone to come to. It's kind of like you will never, by the way, if you ever want to start a band, you will never have a successful band unless you have a rehearsal space, unless you have a collective space for everybody to come to so that you can get the work done and you can create and you can do things. If you're just sitting in your, home, practicing or whatever else, you're never going to have that experience. You're never going to be as big or reach the potential you could reach by having a place for the tribe to gather, right? And that's essentially what they've done. Now, here's story number 2. Back of this year in 2022, I think it was in February, I was now here we are a year later. They're already at 500,000 subs. They're growing. They're on, Tim Pool. They've exploded in popularity. Everyone knows who they are. There's a guy in Miami, and his name, I forget. I think he goes by the name of Stunt. And he was developing a new podcast, and it was called We in Miami Podcast. And I looked at it and I was watching this. I was sort of seeing how it was developing. And all the guy did was just took the template of what Myron and Fresh were doing, which is we get a table and we get some lights and we get a few cameras and we get a sound guy maybe. And we put all these girls at a table and we just let them talk and let them go crazy. And if we want to throw one off, we can. He's trying to repeat sort of like the template or the formula. And it's an abysmal failure. And I knew it would be back in February when they were stressing on him for a little while. They were having me, I was included in these meetings, right? They were telling me like, oh, Stunt's going to start on this day and we're going to be dealing with this and everything. I'm like, why are you guys stressing on this? And they're looking at me like, what, he's trying to be our competition here, right here in our backyard. And I'm like, yeah, but he doesn't have the red pill. He has no frame of reference. He's never read my work. He's never had any background in any of the stuff that you've been in, like Myron has been in, really since he was working in the FBI. So I'm like, why are you stressing on this guy? And I was right. It's a complete, utter shit show. I don't know if it's even still going on. And there have been other people who have been trying to repeat that same template and that same formula in various ways. And it has fallen apart for them because they don't have a founding in what I've been writing about over the course of 5 books and, all the stuff that the people that I've been working with, putting into practice and the theory and everything that else goes behind it. That's also, by the way, one of the reasons why I get like kind of livid when I listen to like, say, Matt Walsh or Candace Owens or, the guys in the Roommates try to dip their toes in the manosphere, because all they're doing is just coming at it from a place of like willful ignorance or confident ignorance, because they think the formula is talking shit about like, gender dynamics and stuff like that, rather than having that basic understanding of like, well, evolutionary psychology, of anthropology, sociology, evolutionary biology. They have no clue. What they think is that it's just a formula and here's just how we do a good show. And this is the new hotness. So we're going to jump on board with it. And it always falls apart.
Hey, here's what I think. This is just me being a YouTuber for like a year and a half. They chose a subject that is ubiquitous amongst all mankind.
Yes.
The subject is intersexual dynamics, which is one of the basis of evolutionary psychology. By the way, for those of you who don't know, evolutionary psychology is not all just mating. That's Dr. David Buss's main part is mating. When it comes to behavior, that's Dr. Gad Sad, and it's also Steven Pinker. But as far as mating is concerned, it's Dr. David Buss. If you guys are ever looking for,
can I throw out one more name here? Is Steve Stewart Williams?
Yes.
The ape that understood the universe is. If you don't know, if you're like your first time, you're like coming into like evolutionary psychology, and it seems like really like a slog or a real tough read. Read The Ape That Understood the Universe, because it's actually it's funny. It keeps you entertained while he's explaining these otherwise very complex terms. Fantastic book. I highly recommend Ape That Understood the Universe by Steve Stewart Williams.
Also, Lou, do you remember, if you watch our interview between Rolo and I, every man you meet has a theory on game. It doesn't matter if it's a good theory or a bad theory. Just notice every man you meet does not have a theory on like skinning a rabbit. Every man you meet does not have a theory on like, quantum mechanics. Every man you meet does not have a theory on how to bake a cake. But every guy you meet, if you were to, aliens were to come up to you, Lou, right now and be like, so explain to me, how do you attract women? You would have some answer. Why is it that there's some pervasive strategy that is it engulfs the human psyche. It engulfs human male psychology so deeply. If every single man that you know has some strategy for game or how to attract women, what does that mean? That means it's evolution, right? Yeah. Anything that is pervasive amongst Homo sapiens must exist somewhere in evolution. So what does that mean? Like, you know what? Rolo, I've always wanted to ask you about this.
You sure you haven't read my 5th book? Because that's in the introduction.
Oh, is it? That's interesting. Yeah. No, I just read every book on an Evo site. So here's the thing. I've always wondered this. So this is how I explain hypergamy to women. This is I like to use, a lot of analogies. So imagine this, right? So remember earlier today when I was saying who here thought that Margot Robbie was hot, or who here thought that, Jessica Biel was hot, who here thought that, whoever, young Rihanna, her first album, or Mariah Carey, goddamn, bro, Mariah Carey, her first album, when whoever thought she was hot. Guys, put in the chat how many seconds or fractions of a second it took you to recognize that Margot Robbie, Mariah Carey, how long it took you to figure out that Rihanna or Selma Hayek was hot. How many seconds or fractions of a second did it take you to do that? Okay. Now I want you to think about this. I want you to think about how long it takes for you to recognize, there's a car in front of you. It takes a second to figure, oh, is that a Subaru or is that a Lexus? It takes a second, right? Whenever I see an airplane, I'm like, is that a Boeing 707 or a 7? It takes like a second, like a full second, right? If a quarterback drops back, Rolo, when Tom Brady drops back, it takes him 2 seconds to read the 2 full seconds to read the defense, right? But in order for us to tell whether or not a woman is fine, takes less than 1/10 of a second. What does that tell you? If every man can tell whether or not a woman is attractive in 1/10 of a second, what does that tell you? It tells you there's an algorithm in your brain that is put there through evolution for you to be able to tell that a woman is attractive, right? So if there's an algorithm for men, then conversely, there must be an equal algorithm for women. That algorithm is hypergamy, but the difference is that algorithm is not just based on looks, and therefore it's more complicated. And a lot of times it's a lot easier to fool. And so that algorithm, if there is some way for men to determine she's attractive and she's not attractive, women must have a corresponding algorithm to determine this man is a beta and this man is an alpha. It must exist. And that algorithm is not your enemy. That algorithm is a function. It is an evolutionary adaptation so that women would not constantly be, marrying men that were not going to give them strong children or give them alignments to maintain children.
Because they have a higher investment cost when it comes to reproduction. So therefore that, women will call it feminine intuition, right? I've referred to it as like the hypergamic filter, right? Like to figure out, is this guy really who he says he is? And so that's why social proof is so important to women, because they can't 100% be 100% sure that this guy is who he says he is. Is he really an attorney, or is he a sandwich artist at Subway, right? So they can try to figure it out on their own, but they need to go to ask their girlfriends, do you know anything about Mike? Or they can see the cues that, oh, there's other women that are around Mike, and that's a third party endorsement, right? That's pre-selection, that's social proof. Do guys like to? Is Mike the kind of guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck, right? There's ways, subconscious ways and social ways that women determine that, and yes, they do find that very quickly. It's because that understanding or that mechanism, that filter, is what I call peripheral awareness. So when I'm talking to you guys right now, I know if I look directly at the camera, I know that I know Ned's over here. I know that the speaker's over here. I know that there's the lights above me right now. But if I'm looking at you, I'm not paying attention to all that stuff. I know it's there because it's in my peripheral awareness, but I'm looking at you while I'm cognitively doing that. The thing is that's just one, like sight, right? That's one aspect of peripheral awareness. There's other peripheral awarenesses that are included in, like, I can determine whether or not I want to fuck that chick within like a split second of meeting her. That's peripheral awareness. Your cognition is like, you maybe it registers, maybe it doesn't. But when you see a woman who's waiting at the crosswalk, you go, okay, reproductively viable or not. Does she pass the boner test or does she not? That happens instantaneously, and it is an autonomous part of your psyche, of your peripheral awareness. as you were saying before, women do that as well, but theirs is attuned sort of as a filter to determine if this guy really is what he's presenting himself to be. So when we say you need to be congruent with the way that you look and you present yourself and your attitude and your posture and everything else, or whatever it is, with who you are and how you're presenting yourself and how you're taught, how you're speaking as well, that congruency right there is part of that filter that's trying to determine whether or not you're full of shit or you're really an alpha male who you are. Because women's existential fear is to breed with the guy who she thought was an alpha, and he turns out to be a beta. He turns out to be, jig is up, tricked you. Well, you had sex with me and now you're going to have my babies and I'm actually a beta male. That right there is the existential fear of women, is to be forced to have that sexual selection taken away from them, either by force or by trickery, right? To become that root. And that's why it is so highly defined in the female psyche to be wary and to have that filter, to the point right now where you can have a show, a very successful show like The Bachelor, or The Bachelor, 26 seasons in The Bachelor right now, or I don't know what The Bachelorette is at, but those shows, the reason why they're so popular is because they play on that indignation. Is he really the best? Who's going to get the rose, right? Is he really the guy that she should be with? That's because if you want to know what the viewership is for The Bachelor, it's almost, minus the homosexuals, it's probably almost like 97, 98% female, because that plays on that filter that they don't necessarily get to enjoy for the rest of their life. It's pleasurable for women to try to figure out whether a guy really is who he says he is or if he's not. So when it turns out that the guy's actually a cheater and he's actually not who he said he was, I knew it. Good thing we dodged a bullet, girls, right? That feels really good for women. So when we're talking about that filtration, we're talking about the idea whether or not a girl is attractive, you want to fuck her within the first split second. That females have the exact same thing. It's just that it's differently attuned because they're looking for that quality and they're trying to figure out whether or not you are what you really are presenting, congruent with what you're presenting yourself as.
Rolo, I've never thought about that. So The Bachelor would almost be like watching hypergamy on God mode. It's almost like when you play a video game and you can see the whole map.
Because it provokes indignation.
That's incredible.
Yeah, women love indignation. They love the feeling of indignation. That's why I think you probably remember this, like in the old school, like RSD and Mystery Method and stuff. It didn't matter whether you left that woman with a positive or a negative emotional association. You just had to leave her with an emotional association. Yeah. Most guys couldn't even figure out how to do that.
You can do anything you want with a woman except bore her.
Exactly. If you pissed her off, she's still going to remember you. If she had a great time rock climbing with you somewhere, she's still going to remember. It's that exhilaration is going to be associated with who you are, the memory of who you are. And so what happens is, though, that's a low level form of indignation. So when you'll notice that in the formula on The Bachelor, the only reason I know anything about The Bachelor is my daughter used to watch it all the time. But the formula is this: is he really the one? Is he really the one who says he is what he is? And all these women across the United States and probably across the world the sisterhood is coming together and they're going, I think, Jordan is the one. And I think Michael is the one. And they have these sort of almost tribalism around which girl got it right. And when the one guy turns out to be the cheater, or he turns out to be somebody who he presented himself to be this guy, but he's really a hypocrite. He's really not who he is. He tried to trick her, but we ladies figured it out with our intuition and our female our mystical feminine mystique. We figured it out. That feels really fucking good because it means that the filter is working. And they weren't able to put one past them. And then here's the opposite of that: Tinder swindler. When the Tinder swindler,
because he got him.
It's still indignation, right? And he's fucking with all these chicks. And you know what's funny? He's still doing it, and they still love him. They still love him like never before. But they were wrapped up in this guy, and they don't want to admit that they were, but they were wrapped up in it because of indignation. Is he really a multimillionaire? Is he really a Mossad agent? Like that. Oh, I can't believe what's the next episode of Twin Tinder Swindler that I'm living out right now. It's indignation, and they love every second of it.
That's so crazy, man. When I think about, you play Grand Theft Auto and you can do like the cheat codes where you can like make cars appear and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's like watching The Bachelor is like having hypergamy on
Mhm.
God mode,
It's
because you get to
right
see,
there. Yeah.
because you get to hear the conversations you're not supposed to hear, right?
Mhm.
When they're doing the OTFs, you get to hear the conversation of what he actually thinks about her or
Mhm.
how his behavior is. Oh man, that's awesome. Like I never
Well,
thought about that, but yeah.
In my first book, I have there's an essay or a chapter in there called Indignation. And one of the things I tell guys when it comes to like applying this, putting into practice, because you're the practice, I'm the theory, putting into practice is don't deny women that indignation. They're going to get that. It's like a drug that they need, right? So if in the absence of indignation, women will manufacture it for themselves. So they'll go to daytime talk shows. They'll go to romance novels. They'll go to Tinder Swindler. They'll go to The Bachelor to get it like vicariously or in reality. It doesn't matter where it's coming from because it's still provoking that same, I don't know, maybe it's like some sort of chemical cocktail or an endorphin that they feel, but they really enjoy the process of trying to figure out if this son of a bitch is really who he says he is. So if it's a drug for them, become their drug dealer. You get to be the one who is provoking that indignation in some way, shape, or form, whether that's through passive dread, if you're like with somebody, or if it's like trying to, you know that when you meet that girl and she's trying to figure you out, to be more of a challenge, to give to what's called breadcrumbing. You probably know what breadcrumbing is, right? You give them a little bit of your personal history, little bit at a time, instead of like, spewing it out all at once, right? They have to like sort of draw it out of you, because the act of drawing it out of you creates indignation. It's like, oh, is he really who he says he is? Oh, he just told me that he had 3 brothers. Oh, okay. His mom and dad aren't together, and whatever. Like you can give like little teeny tiny tidbits, and those tidbits of information, which is called breadcrumbing, will trigger that indignation, which of course creates intrigue, and she wants to get to know you, and she wants to sort of like get involved in your story. If you just give her all the story all at once, all on the restaurant table, and there's nothing else to figure out about you at the end of the date, you're not going to get a second date.
It's beautiful, man. I'm still blown away from that analogy. That makes so much sense. It really is like playing Age of the Empire with the map exposed.
Yep.
Where you can see the whole map.
Yeah, no fog of war.
Yeah, there's no fog of war, really, because you get to see, or Big Brother was like that too, right? Big Brother, we could actually see when people were sleeping, like who they were actually going to bed with. Hey, you know what, Rolo? There was something that was like that for us a couple of weeks ago. The MOA guys, we went to Jamaica for Paradise Challenge with and Orangutan was there, and some of my clients were there, and they would they're like, I was making out with a girl, and we'd be on the nude side, and then you kind of think that she goes off and talks to some other guy, but you don't know. But we were on the nude side, so like they would come back, and the girl that they were talking to would literally be having sex with some other dude right in front of them. It was like it was almost like the world through like a fishbowl lens, where you could see what everybody was doing because everyone was naked. Like, it was very raw. I don't know how else to explain it. I recommend everybody go to the nude side of Paradise Challenge or of hedonism one time, just experience it one time, like the raw animalistic nature of it. Yeah, for sure.
Bring your notebook.
This has been great. Mason, what's your question, Mason?
Yeah, hi guys. Appreciate everything. Appreciate everything you Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep, sure can.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry. I appreciate everything you guys do. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've read only The Rational Male, Rolo. So I personally kind of looked at it as a life philosophy, and I appreciated the fact that it was presented in the light of the way things are, not that how they should be.
Mm-hmm.
But given that popular figures within the manosphere and I suppose red pill philosophy at large are garnering a lot of attention mainstream these days and have influence over young men, what do you think is the next stage in the evolution of your, I suppose, your literary body of knowledge, your works, your legacy, Rolo? Because I feel as though it gets filtered because people are allowed to have their own interpretation of it, which is okay. But at the same time, I think it's confused because it's not necessarily a socially conservative way to conduct a private life, because we've got Andrew Tate out here going, oh, no, I believe in marriage, but at the same time, and I don't want to put words in Andrew's mouth either because he's not here to defend himself. But at the same time, I'm going, well, Andrew's, doing what he's doing with women, and he's probably, giving benefit to multiple women and multiple partners in a traditionally conservative manner, but in a socially, I suppose, progressive or different way in his private life because he's that valuable of a man. But it's not really applicable to, I suppose, the average person that gets roped up in a filtration of your original outlook. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Absolutely. And I think one of the disconnects that a lot of people have is like, I insist on calling the red pill a praxeology. It is not an ideology. It is not a belief set. It's not a set of beliefs. It's not opinions. It's not about emotions. It's not like, oh, best. It's not even really best practices per se. Okay. What it is it's maybe Mike understands what this is. Do you know what a Chilton manual is for a car? Like when
I sure do. Yeah, we had
shows you where all the pieces
I
and how to disassemble it and put it back together, right? Yeah, that's what the red pill is. It's the Chilton Manual for Intersexual Dynamics. Okay. It's not, is it good? Is it bad? No, this piece fits into this piece and it builds the car. You know, eventually you get a car out of it. Is it a good car? Is it a bad car? Is it is it a belief set to go? No, it's not. It's the Chilton Manual. It is what it is. So when people say, oh, hypergamy means that women are evil, I'm like, no, stop using the term evil because that's a judgment call. That has nothing to do with the red pill. The red pill is just about understanding. It is as objective as a human being can make it. So I refer to it as a praxeology because I think that's the most accurate description of it, meaning that praxeology is the study of human behavior in the sense that human behavior has a purpose or it has some underlying like latent purpose to that actual behavior or the way of thinking or the way that we're built. That's why it works so well and is so well informed by evolutionary psychology, evolutionary biology, anthropology, sociology, economics, name it. There's crossovers all over the place. Endocrinology, neurological, understand. There's so much that goes along with it, all of which I am not an expert in any way, but I know just enough to connect dots. And the one thing that when people get this is they want to say, Rolo has a belief set, or Rolo is a philosopher. I'm not a philosopher. I'm a mechanic. I just work here. All I'm doing is taking the car apart and putting the car back together again. I'm not telling you how to live. I do not offer prescriptions. And that problem is, as you pointed out, everybody wants a prescription. Everybody wants 12 steps for life, right? 12 rules for life. They want 7 easy steps and the 4th one will shock you, right? They want some sort of way to go from point A to point B. And if I follow these steps, then I'm insured I'm going to get that perfect 10 every time I do these things. And I'll tell you right now, the red pill, what Mike tells you, what I tell you, what Andrew, whoever it is that you're following, one size does not fit all in the red pill. Okay. So I would not presume to tell some kid in South Africa or some kid in Calcutta or some kid somebody in the Midwest, in Tulsa, Oklahoma or something like that. I would not presume to tell them, oh, here's a template for you to live the perfect life because I'm not you. You're not me. It's not the same time. It's not the same place. The chicks you're going to meet are not the same girls. We're just simply different in that respect. Now, are there general objective truths that you can use to create a good life for yourself within your context? Absolutely. And that's what I try to focus on. The problem is everybody they want me to show them how to live. And if I don't, then we're going to go find Myron and Fresh, or we're going to go find Andrew Tate, or we're going to go find, some fat kid in Brazil. Or we're going to go find someone else to teach us the dad, give us the dad we never had, give us a philosophy. I need a pastor. I need a shepherd. I need somebody to show me how to live. And that I think is more dangerous than me just defining or describing all of this stuff and then handing it over to guys as equipment and tools and education for which they can use to create a better life for themselves. As I've said before, I'm not in the business of making men better men. I'm in the business of giving men the tools and equipping them with the information that they need to make themselves better men. Because anyone who's saying, hey man, I've got this template over here, this great 12 steps for life kind of thing, and they're selling you something. They're selling you whatever product they have, whatever they got on Gumroad or whatever, because they think that they've got some sort of, magic bullet, or they've got some 12-step ways to get to from where you don't want to be to where you want to be. And that I think is more dangerous than actually just disseminating this information. Now then, where does it go from here? The problem is guys understand that people do want prescriptions. They want to know, but you'll notice that whenever I'm criticized, I'm always criticized on the 9 iron rules of Tomassi, because that's something they can focus on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They don't talk about alpha widows. They don't talk about war brides. They don't talk about hypergamy. They don't talk about the soulmate myth. They don't talk about the literally hundreds of other things that are in my original book. They only focus on those 9 rules because they think that that's the templates that I'm proposing that they follow to get a better life. And it's not. But that's what they focus on. So what they're looking for is they're looking for an Andrew Tate who's a charismatic guy to give that to, essentially use a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about for 20 years, or mine are fresh for that matter. Everybody's got, some sort of program, and some are better and some are worse. What I am looking for right now, hopefully in the future, is that guys will be more accurate. All I really want is accuracy. I tell guys all the time, I say, you know what? Even if you don't accredit me for whatever it is that you're talking about, steal my stuff. I think that red pill should be open source, but at the very least be accurate with what you're talking about. Because what I usually have to do is, and I've done this before, if Myron or Kevin Samuels or Tate goes out there and they say something that sounds like something I would have said, they don't go to them because they're inaccessible. They come to Rolo, who's way more accessible, and they go, "Do you think high value men should cheat?" I'm like, "Where the fuck are you getting that? I've never said anything like that. I've said, powerful men throughout history have had territory, resources, and access to many beautiful women like a harem, but I'm not the one giving you prescriptions because high value men should cheat. Should is a prescription." And so people will focus on those prescriptions. And I think that's, if there's a danger in the red pill sort of like imploding on itself, it's in the guys giving prescriptions. That's how you get a guy like, the fat kid in Brazil. That's how you get bad actors in all of this, because they know that you need a prescription, and they're playing on the fact that you want to go from point A to point B, and they're going to tell you that they got the plan.
Beautiful, man. Let's go to Angel. Angel, what's your question?
Hey, Rolo. Just wanted to ask a personal question.
Sure.
How do you personally build your status at the beginning? And how did that building that status help you in your personal life, aside from game?
Outside of game, you mean like just like in general, like as a professional, as just a human being? I have a lot of I have a background in a lot of things. I joke around, and you've probably heard the term, jack of all trades, master of none. I'm jack of all trades, master of some. So I'll give you a Greyhound racing quote. Okay, winners don't know that they're in a race; they just love to run. And so I have done the things that I have been interested in and I've been passionate about. When I first started doing what I do, as far as, my books and being, quote unquote, I always say, I've been in this for 20 years, but the first 10 years that I spent doing all of this, I was in forums. I was in alt fast seduction. I was in SoSwab. I was a moderator on SoSwab right up until about 2016. And it was all of the stuff that I talk about in my first book, second, and a little bit of my third book. All of those essays and all of those ideas and those concepts came from 10 or 12 years of discussion with groups of guys from all over the world, and collecting that and refining that into blog posts, and then refining it into book chapters, so that is something that's a bit more codified. So was I connecting the dots? Yes. But you know what? It was an aggregate effort from a lot of the guys, and I was just passionate about it. I wasn't getting paid for it. God knows I barely get paid for it now, right? I certainly wasn't getting paid for it when I was having conversations with guys on SoSwap. I was in a race and I just loved running, right? I loved talking to these guys. I liked getting this information. I had a passion for it. I'm also a very creative person. I can draw, I can write, I play music. You name the creative aspect, I probably have done. I've sculpted, for Christ's sake. I've done lots of different things. I've used my creative self to do various things throughout life. Some I suck at, some I don't. So it's just sort of going and focusing on what it is that you really, really are into. The status comes after that, because once you are really good at something, then people start to respect you for what it is that you're doing, whether you're making a shit ton of money off of it or not. I mean, there's broke ass guys who are like brilliant artists who people very much respect. They're not draped over a Lamborghini somewhere, but they're really good at what their craft happens to be, because they really love doing what they're doing. So I've found, at least in my experience, that if you focus on certain things, like I got into casino marketing because I was using my creative self to do advertising. I got into brand management. Then I got into wine and spirits. I was personally responsible for probably about at least 100 different brands of liquor. Some you've heard of, some you haven't. Some were respectable and some got forgotten and thrown away. So I built myself up and my reputation in that way. And then now really for the last, I would say since 2013, when the first book came out, it was just sort of this obscure book, and it became the Bible of the red pill. And when I'm indirectly saving guys' lives because they've read the book, I didn't set out and go, oh, I'm going to write this book because I want to save guys' lives. It was just an after effect of something that I was passionate about and I wanted to do. And I have people still to this day, saying thank you. But the status came because I stuck at what I like to do and what I was about. And I started turning money off of it. I started like interacting with guys. And so as far as like building your reputation, building your status, I think one of the things to understand is that respect and integrity and status to men is something that is different than it is to women. So when men have what I call a burden of performance, you probably read that in any number of my books. Men must become and women just are. So what have you become? Are you in the process of becoming? So you look like you're pretty young. How old are you?
I'm 24, turning
24. Okay. So, the joke is men don't become men until they're 30, but I don't necessarily believe that. I just think that, a lot of it takes longer for men to reach their potential, their personal potential than it does for women too. So to have them things that make you maximally attractive, maximally respectable, maximally whatever, your personal potential takes longer for men to get to that because, you have to learn mastery. You have to master certain things. And with that comes status. It comes respect, comes integrity. What makes you respectable? That's the thing. For men exist in hierarchies. Women exist in communities, like communitarianism versus hierarchies. So for like Mike has been I'm going to butcher this, but Mike has been in the military. So you were what? You were a captain, right?
Yeah, I was a KC-135 instructor navigator, and then I worked in.
So what's the next rank down below captain?
Below captain is a first lieutenant.
And what's below first lieutenant?
Second lieutenant.
And what's below second lieutenant?
You'd be an E9, so you'd be a chief master sergeant.
Okay, so you keep going on down the chain of command from captain all the way down to like what, private? I don't know. I didn't know what the lowest rank is.
Private would be an 01. So 01 in the Army. For us, it'd be an airman basic.
So the I need to ask somebody in the military because I always butcher this when I use this example. Mm-hmm. In the military is very regimented. It's very hierarchical. There's respect for the rank that is above you. And even if you don't respect the man, what are you supposed to do? Respect the rank, respect their uniform.
Hold on, wait, Grant. Wait, an E9 outranks an first lieutenant? No, he doesn't. When Now, hold on. Now, you're not lying. If I saw an E9 in the room, I would say, "How you doing, Chief?" Like, of course, all of the lieutenants are afraid of fucking E9s. Don't get it.
That's all I'm saying. Okay,
but they don't. He still salutes me. So
anyway,
absolutely.
Who has more respect, the captain or the second lieutenant, right? So it's based on what you've become. What are your achievements? So men exist in hierarchies that exist in our work culture. There's the president, the CFO, the COO, whatever it is, on down to the guy who gets you your coffee in the morning. There, you can do it in religion. You look at the male space, and I will show you a hierarchy that's right there. That is because it is based on what is men's idea of respect. Okay, what is it that makes you respectable? So even if you're not in the Army, you're just meeting a guy for the first day, you're saying, okay, what has this guy done why should I respect this guy? What has he achieved? Is he a piece of shit, or is he like the Fortune 500 company owner or something like that? There is levels and ranking and hierarchies of respect. For women, it's just like, oh, we all deserve respect. Let's get a participation trophy for everyone so we all feel special and we all, we're all winners, right? And for women, that works because there's strength in numbers and they needed security and protection in our hunter-gatherer days. So women tend to be much more nurturing and much more communitarian. Men tend to be much more hierarchical. When we're talking about status, Angel, that's what I'm talking about. So when you're talking about like, how do I get status? How do I get affluence? How do I it's based on respect. What makes you respectable at 24? What's going to make you respectable at 30? What's going to make you respectable at 44? It's like, what are your achievements? That's why when I talk to guys, people say, oh, I've got this trophy for this or whatever. At the end of your life, it's not going to be about the trophies that are on your shelf. It's going to be about your body of work. That's what makes you respectable. I respected Mike from day fucking one because I knew exactly what he was about. I knew what his history was. Justin vouched for him. I learned more and more about him. He had my respect from the first day that I met Mike because I knew who he was and I knew what his achievements were. And so that makes him respectable to me. Now, he knows what my achievements are. He knows what my background is. He knows where I've been for the most part. And so I would presume, Mike, that I am respectable to you. So there is that.
Yeah, I was nervous.
Understood.
You saw, I read every book except religion in the most recent one. And then I watched probably 8.5 hours of your content before we did our interview. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So short version of this, Angel, is that that status is based on respectability, and respectability is based on achievements. What are you doing? What are you mastering? What are you a master of? What are you passionate about? What is the race that you're running that you don't care that you're going to win? You just love to run, or you love to do those things. So at 24, you might be like, I don't know. I get this all the time. What do I do with my life? I don't know where to go. I don't know what direction is. You're exactly the same age as my nephew, by the way. And he has the same questions. I'm like, you just have to go and do things. I'll leave you with this. One of the best advice I can give to like young men comes directly from Henry Rollins. And Henry Rollins said this. He says, I learned to become who I am by saying yes. Like, do you want to be in a movie? Yes. Do you want to be in a band? Yes. Do you want to do this? Do you want to try this project out? Yes. Yes. And he was like, I sucked at a lot of those, but at some of them I was really good. And I went with those. And because I was there and I said yes to those things and I tried those things out, I mastered a lot of those and I became who I was. And as a result of that, developed networks, developed options, and then developed achievements and developed success and developed respectability, which is status.
Yeah.
Nice.
Perfect. Thank you.
By the way, what we were talking about before, there's Justin right there. That's actually how Justin and I met. Is Justin came out here. He came to do the podcast. So I put in the contest and I was like, I just don't want people to think I exaggerate. So I was like, yeah, Justin, I'm doing a Playboy bikini competition. And then I was like, you're going to be a judge. And that's exactly what I said was going to happen is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like to do this. Right. And I said, the girls are really hot, and sure enough, were really hot.
Mike, you know how I met Pat Campbell? He called me up. He looked up my contact information. I had no idea who this dude was. He was a talk show host in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He says, Rolo Tomassi. I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, this is Pat Campbell. You're going to be on my show on Friday at at 6 a.m. Central Time. And we're going to talk about, red pill this. And I read your book. It's fantastic. You're going to be on the show. Just presuming the sale. Right. And I'm like, okay, I guess I am. So I did that. And then right after that, he's like, I really want you for a regular show. You're going to be on the show. I'm like, okay, I guess I am, because what you were just saying, I said this was going to happen and this is what happened.
Yeah, that's it. That's
just a
generally how it works with me.
Yeah, that's how it works. If you know something's going to happen, I mean, just freaking do it, say yes.
Yeah. And MOA, man, we don't talk about it. We be about it. We'll do a couple more, and then you just let me know if you need to leave.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm good now. I guess. What's the score? Somebody tell me what the score is.
No, you don't want to know the score. Just watch replay, man. You don't use the condensed game on NFL. That's what I do.
Yeah,
I watch the Cowboys.
I got 20 more minutes. Let's do that.
Okay. All right. Cool. Eli, what's your question?
First, I would like to say thank you very much for bringing us all together. I appreciate the platform, and thank you, Rolo, for answering our questions. Rolo, by the way, it's 14-0. You guys are winning right now.
Thank you. Awesome.
You're welcome. I got you. I got a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead. All
right, perfect.
Maybe they'll work into the other one. So go ahead.
Yeah, I would actually like to piggyback on what you just said before about saying yes. I feel like that's speaking on to getting out of your comfort zone, and getting out of your comfort zone leads to a lot of growth. And a lot of men are so comfortable and won't like to stay in their comfort zone, like people who are comfortable in their bed and don't want to get out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
All you just have to do is seek uncomfortability and get your ass out of your bed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you continue to grow.
And hold on, stop right there, because I think this will probably answer at least one of your questions. Stop sedating yourself. That's number one. I just had the question a minute ago about alcohol. Whenever like people ask me like, what would you tell the youth of today, Rolo? The first thing I would say is stop fucking sedating yourself. Stop jerking off the porn. Stop drinking. If that, whatever it is that's keeping you in bed, that's paralyzing you from actually going and putting anything I say or anything Mike says or anything else into practice. You can listen to you can read my books, listen to my books. You can watch all the Red Pill content in the world. You can go and see all this happen on Instagram and have this virtual life and say, you know what, God damn it, I'm going to go do that. But you're not going to do that if you're still stuck in bed and you're jerking off, or you are paralyzed by OxyContin or whatever it is that you're smoking too much weed. I don't know what your sedation is. The number one problem I see with young men today is sedation. If you could pinpoint what that sedation is, that's the first key. You're never going to go do anything else until you get your ass out of bed. Find out what's sedating you and stop fucking sedating yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you with that statement. And that leads to one of my questions, actually. So do you believe you should ignore women to get where you want to go in life? Because I have a friend that says completely ignore them. Don't do anything about them. They're taking away your energy. And for me, I disagree with that statement, but I would like to know your opinion on that.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a feeling I know.
I want to know more about your friend, dude. I want to know about your friend. How's
So
this working out for him?
Almost no fat November. Yeah, just saying.
Yeah. So my friend actually is big into semen retention. He's big into philosophy and really big into philosophy.
Semen retention. Oh, like this. Let's go with semen. Let's go with semen retention. Let's do it. Let's go with semen retention.
I'll tell you what's funny is I got into a conversation one time with Hotep Jesus about semen retention, and I understand. Like I kind of get why they want to turn it into this woo-woo magical thinking kind of thing. As far as I hate that there's even a term for this, right? It's like, oh, retention. No, you're just not fucking jerking off. Why can't we just call it not jerking off? Just say you're not touching your pee-pee, man. Just like, can we just be real about this bullshit? We got to make some, diagnostic term for it. But I the reason I joke is because myself and one of the guys on Rule Zero, Ryan Stone, every November we do our annual semen retention show and say you're full of shit kind of thing. But they think it's like some magical. We got to retain our chi and our magical energy because we can we can levitate if we don't jerk off for a full month. Something like off the ground like some Tibetan monk somewhere. But I have written posts in the past about what I called, I think it's actually in the first book, it's called the pheromonal beta. And what it means is guys who jerk off manifest behaviors that guys who are used to getting sex a lot don't manifest, simply because the guys who are jerking off and the guys who are a guy who would need to masturbate in the past, like remember, we're talking about masturbation from the perspective of we've had pornography since Playboy, right? Like since the sexual revolution, Hustlers, Penthouse, whatever, on up through, cable up to where we're at right now. Think about this. The vast majority of humankind didn't have the stroke material. Okay. So were they retaining their semen? Is that why they were like the masters of the fucking universe and levitating off the ground? No, they didn't have sex and they didn't have access to same level of sexuality that we have today, really since the last 60 years or so. So we have to put things into perspective before we start talking about like that. The other thing is, the way that I look at quote unquote semen retention is I think that guys who don't jerk off start to manifest behaviors or manifest attitudes that are different from guys who are jerking off and they have that oxytocin rush and they feel relaxed. Did you ever see that? Did you ever see that movie, Something About Mary? And
no, I haven't.
Jerks off and he's like, oh, you can't go out there with the loaded gun. You gotta flog the dolphin before you go out on a date because you don't want to think you want to fuck her. You just want to be relaxed and everything else. So you go and jerk off, and that's what he had, like the jizz in his hand, and she puts it in her hair. It's the famous was it Carmen Diaz, with the hair. That is absolutely 100% the opposite, because God forbid a woman would want to would ever think that you might want to fuck her. You will manifest different behaviors as a result of your body being flushed with oxytocin after you have an orgasm than you would if you are still, hungry to have, you're motivated to go out and have sex. If you're hungry in our past, you would go out and kill the animal, put it on the grill, and you would eat it, right? You want to know why we get hangry, why we get frustrated? I gotta get some food, right? The reason for that is because that was meant to motivate you to go and kill something,
Yeah.
and go eat the food, right? So think about it in sexual terms. If you are satisfied already and you're constantly sedating yourself by constantly jerking off, well, you're not hungry, and you're less likely to actually go out there and look and learn the skills and want to go out there and interact with females and then have sex with those females, right? So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I would 100%
That's a magical
agree with
chi.
you.
It's not your chi. You're not saving up your magical chi energy or anything like that. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it works.
No, for him, it's more about applying his time and energy into something different, like focusing on a business or brand, whatever. That's how he focuses on it.
Okay, so that's question number 2. Question number 2 is this: don't chase women, chase excellence, my friend.
Yeah, basically that's
that fucking quote. Absolutely hate that quote, and because it is probably, I think it's problematic. I think it's one of the biggest problem with that is that well, first of all, what is excellence? Are you a fat ass and you need to get your ass in the gym? Is that excellence? Or is it you're broke, you're a brokey and you need to make more money? Is that excellence? Or is excellence maybe learning the social skills so that you can interact with women and you can be better, a more skilled person in carrying on conversation, having, actually reproducing at some point, learning the social skills so that you can reproduce. Is that excellence? What the fuck is excellence? Tell me what excellence is, and then we could start from there. Now, here's the other thing. Before I know what you're gonna say. I'm gonna head you off the path. Money, muscles, and game. Right? There's the money aspect. There's the physical, get in shape aspect, and then there's the social skills aspect. So we talk about this all the time. This is the way I view it. All three of those the composite of all three of those is frame, the world that you create that women want to enter into. So for Mike's got his physique down. He's got his money down. He's got his game down. He is like Alpha Buddha. It's like a Zen level. Zen level.
That's a very good compliment.
And why is that? Because not any one of those, they're all very high. Money, muscles, and game for Mike is all very, very high. Okay. So now think of it in these terms. I know, and Mike knows who I'm going to talk. I'm not going to name him by name, but Mike knows the guys that I'm talking about. All they've ever done their entire lives is focus on money. And now they're 50 years old. Got no bitches. They got no, they're like, oh, Rolo, how do I get a life like yours, like a wife and picket fence and a golden retriever in the front yard and 2 kids? Like, because all you ever did from the time you were 20 years old is you focused on excellence. And that excellence was just making a shit ton of money at the expense of your physique and the expense of your social intelligence. And here you are just focusing on one thing your entire life. And so what guys will say is like, well, if you focus on excellence and you make a lot of money, then the bitches will come. They'll come and see you. I'm like, yeah, but when they do, they will see you as a big mark, a big beta blue pill chump, just like Jeff Bezos, just like Elon Musk, just like, hell, you can even throw Johnny Depp into that, right? All these guys who they're what I call blue pill alphas, right? They make a lot of money. They have social proof. Chicks want to fuck them, but they have no game and they don't understand when a woman like Amber Heard is rolling you. They don't see that the predatory women see a guy like the one I'm talking about as a mark, right? And the reason why he doesn't see that is because he hasn't developed those social skills. So what I'm saying right now, and I told Justin this in my interview with him, is you need to have a more unified approach. You can't just focus on just one thing to the exception of others, because otherwise you'll be hobbled in others. And so what most guys do is if they have a deficit in one, if they go, I'm just fat, so I'm going to work, and I don't want to get in shape, so I'm just going to focus on my money, because that's all really bitches care about, right? They make a lot of money and they can get laid because they're paying. It's all transactional, but they got no game and they got no physique, right? Or you got the guys who are like, well, I'm broke as fuck. I'm kind of awkward. These are the looks maxers, right? They'll be like, okay, I'm just going to go and live in the fucking gym and I'm going to be as built as I possibly can. And they are the guys who, like, they can attract a woman. They can sometimes get laid based on their physique, but they can't carry on a conversation. And they're incongruent because a woman is expecting him to have social mastery because he looks a certain way. And yet he's not, he's broke. She has to pay for everything. She's the one who's, the primary breadwinner. And he's socially awkward. So at the expense of other aspects of that. So what I've told Justin, I'll tell you, everybody here, is I think there needs to be I think all of those things, money, muscles, and game, have synergies. So if you're not making a lot of money and you suddenly go to making a lot of money, how does it affect your attitude and your game? If you are a fat ass and you get in the gym for like 8 months or a year, and you start looking better, how does that affect your game? And how does it affect your money? How does it affect your attitude about the others? So each one of those things, like money, muscles, and game, entrepreneurship, bodybuilding and learning whatever, social skills, how do each one of those synergistically work with the other one and take a more balanced approach to all three instead of just focusing on one at a time?
Yeah, I believe all of them enhance each other. Like, I believe if you're a narcissist, right, and you get money, you're just an extreme narcissist at that point. It enhances. So I believe if you have good game and then you have money and then you have the looks to back it, then you have really good game. And then it just all enhances each other, works in synergy, like you were saying, interdependence.
Synergistic.
And yeah, basically.
I hate that
So
word, but I don't know what else to call it.
How would I talk to my friend, now that we're on this topic, how would I talk to my friend? I would love to bring him in here, but he's probably working at Planet Fitness. How would I talk to my friend and make him realize that you have to unify everything? Because I've been trying to tell him this.
Talking about
you got to work on
everything
everything
and get into a real fucking gym. That's the first step right there.
Well, he works at the Planet Fitness. So,
okay.
I mean, he works at it.
Okay.
Yeah, he works at Planet Fitness. He wants to open his own brand, but he keeps saying,
all right,
I want to apply.
So I'll tell you what I tell everybody is you can't save them all. That's number one.
Okay.
I look at unplugging guys or like helping guys as a form of triage. Okay. You save the ones you can and you read Last Rites to the Dying and you move on because that's the only pragmatic. You're only one guy. I'm only one man, right? Each one tell one. You can try to help them. Now, I've had guys tell me, how do I unplug my dad? How do I unplug my brother? My best friend's about to make the worst decision of his life by marrying this fucking cunt, right? And I'm like, well, you're not going to, you can't tell. There's a movie quote, you cannot tell people about the red pill. They can only see it for themselves, right? You have to wait for your moments and you have to do what I call leading the witness. And so when something happens in that guy's life, or if, for example, something happens in popular culture, start the conversation. Do you think that Amber Heard should have took a shit on Johnny Depp's bed? Do you think that that's, like you could start, stupid example, but like you could start conversations about related experiences or related principles when it comes to whether it's red pill or it's like, intersexual dynamics, understanding things. If you ask, it's like almost like Socratic method. It's like asking, hey, what do you think about why do you think that 80% of women initiate divorce? Like ask them stuff like that and then start that conversation. And then it's not like, you need to read the Rational Male. I'm a rational male evangelist. And if you don't read this, you're going to go to hell because you're going to ruin your life. Right? Don't do that. Please. As much as I want you to buy my books and read them, please don't become a rational male evangelist because it never works. It pushes people are they're more likely to be resistant to it than they are to be accepting of it. And the only effective way that I've found to sort of like introduce somebody to it because you care about them is to lead the witness, ask questions that you want them to sort of come to your conclusions, I guess, and wait for your moments. Wait for the moments where something happens in their life or your family's life or something in popular culture happens, and then start the conversation from there. And then ask questions so they can give you, and then, say, well, if that's the case, why do you think that, 80%, 90% of women initiate divorces, and start the conversation from there? And it doesn't have to be that topic. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. The way I kind of do it already is I try to teach him how I'm doing. I try to tell him basically how to start. Like it's some start because he's like, bro, focus on your money, focus on your business. Once you get there, then you focus on the women. But I tell him you have to start somewhere. You have to start from ground B. You can't just take a big step up Mount Everest and be halfway up Mount Everest. You have to go one step at a time. You have to just start at some point. But I guess that leads me to my next question. Do you think, since you're pretty built yourself, have a high status, do you think you should do what you're good at, become good at what you want to do, or do what makes you money?
I've got two opinions of that. Like my father used to say, get a really kick-ass job and then you can do the things that you want to, fund the things that you want to do by doing the things that are going to pay you the most. It's great if that happens to be something you're really passionate about and you really like. Then there's the philosophy of the best plan A is not to have a plan B. It's the burn the boats behind you. It's a death ground strategy is what it is. Burn the boats behind you. And so success is the only option. It's like get rich or die trying. So I've heard and I think Justin and Andrew Tate have said this before. It's like, fuck what you're passionate about. Who cares? Just get the bag. And then later on, if there's something if you want to become a painter or something, then you have the luxury to go and do that. I understand that, particularly from today's perspective. And honestly, I kind of followed my dad's advice. I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do to make money? Because I want to be in a band, but I can't be in a band if I'm broke as fuck and I can't afford equipment. So I've got to go and bite the bullet, do some things that I don't like to do so that I can do the things that I do like to do. But the problem, where the disconnect is between those two is that once you start getting involved and you start having lifestyle creep, or you take on more liability, do you understand the difference between the assets and liabilities? And then, by the way, that's not just about money. That's about women and about decisions and everything else in your life, pretty much. But what happens is you start doing something that you hate, but it pays you really well. But as a result of that lifestyle creep, you'll start to put more money into liabilities than into assets. And the only asset you're trying to focus on is the shit that you really want to do and make a good chunk of change at. Sometimes it's better to do what you don't like to do and make a shit ton of money at. If it's more profitable, do that. And then you have the leisure to go and do the things that you do. I'm at the point where I actually do that right now. I make enough money doing that, and I really enjoy doing what I do. But there was a time where I was using all of my capital to put it into the things that I really wanted to do. But I knew I couldn't unless I couldn't afford to to fund those and those ventures if I didn't have something, if I didn't bite the bullet and do the work first.
Yeah, because I'm in a circle of great businessmen too. And my friend, he is born dyslexic. He has his own company called Defying All Odds with Dyslexia. And he loves doing it. He wants to do it. And that's what he's passionate about. And he's good at it. And he kind of has a philosophy. It's like, well, I'm either going to be good at it or I'm going to die trying. But he also does what he wants to do. So it kind of already worked out for him.
Can I give you, because I got to go, but I do want to leave you with a couple of books, because we were talking about books here a little while ago.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Number one, go pick up 30. Everybody tells you to get 48 Laws of Power. That's a great book. That's why I start with that one. I personally, that's on the top of my reading list. However, for you, get 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene, because that speaks to a lot
game
of
game theory right there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
so 33 Strategies of War. And then the other one, and then Robert Greene again, Mastery by Robert Greene. I would recommend that to any Angel, the guy with the 24-year-old, read Mastery, especially now. I wish I would have read that when I was in my 20s, man. Fantastic book for like young men, because it teaches you like apprenticeship, and it teaches you it at least makes you appreciate the opportunities that you have right now. And the level of like the barrier to entry to mastery has never been lower. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Okay, I really appreciate that.
Yep.
Hey, Rolo,
yeah, if you have to go, you have to go.
I do. I gotta bail out. I gotta go walk my dog.
Yeah.
Hold on, Rolo. Before we go, I want you to meet my therapist.
Okay.
Rolo, hold on. I want you.
Hi, Jamie Lynn.
This is Jamie. Jamie, can you hear us, or is she on the phone?
She's muted.
Oh no, Jamie, can you hear us, Jamie? So Jamie was going to come last time. This is Jamie Lynn. She's a marriage and family therapist, and she's going to be coming on the next episode of Access Vegas.
Yes.
But she looks like she's on the phone with somebody, even though we are showing her.
Oh, yeah,
she's about to figure it out. Hold on. She's got a few more seconds. She's like, wait a second, they're showing pictures of me. That might be they're talking to me right now.
Am I here?
Yes, Jamie.
Yes.
There we go.
Am I here?
Jamie, what's
Oh my
going
God,
on? Yes.
We're looking at your boy toy.
Hold on, I
Yes.
can't even hear it anymore. I can't hear myself. Hold on.
It's fine.
What the hell did I do? God damn it.
Jamie, can you hear us at all?
Barely. See, I had a
Okay.
call come in,
Jamie,
and now I
so-
can't hear.
Okay, so the reason why is because you haven't hung up on the call. So you're listening to us with the call still going on. So go over there, hang up on the call, then turn your volume all the way up.
Okay, hold on. God damn it.
Her Zoom is
Oh
set to
my
phone
God,
instead
I
of
hate
speaker.
technology.
Yes, it's awesome. Yeah, okay. All right. Anyway, Rolo it's all okay. She hung up on us.
That's okay. I'll see you on the 28th. Yeah.
Oh my God. No,
She's
she's
gonna be on the
probably going to
28th?
make it on the 28th. I'm going to find you somebody on the 21st though, if you still want somebody.
Okay. Yeah, I need at least 2 or 3 girls for the 21st.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem at all, man. I'll definitely do that. But guys, everybody, put a 1 in the chat if you appreciate Rolo being out here this whole time and helping us out. Put a 1 in the chat.
Thank you, Rolo.
Now she's back.
Put a
All
1
right.
in the chat, and thank you, Jamie. We'll talk to you right now, Jamie. But yes, this is my therapist who she gives me good advice, Rolo, and I give her unhealthy advice. That's how it works. I tell her how to be, how to manipulate men, and then she gives me a healthy advice on how to get over breakups. It's incredible. So she's coming on. She's a marriage therapist, and I know you and I have some opinions about that whole thing. She does too, and so it's going to be really interesting. And also, she's writing a book on narcissism, so that's going to be really interesting to have her on.
Oh,
All right,
and
well, I can't. Awesome.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, barely. Rolo's got to go though. It's the Raiders at halftime. All right, Rolo. I'll talk to you soon.
I'll see you on the 28th, Jamie. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you, Rolo.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Jamie, does anybody have any questions for your marriage and family therapist, Jamie Lynn, real quick, before I turn it over to some more questions here? Guys, go ahead and just unmute yourselves if you have a question.
Yeah, I got a question. I could jump right in, Michael. So if I'm looking for more clientele, more opportunities, what kind of networking events should I focus on? I don't mind paying at all.
So there's the thing, like when I invite Jamie to stuff or Jamie Villamore or CJ Sparks or Isabella James or any of those girls, there usually is a sweet spot that has to do with human trafficking. It has to do with animal rescue. We'll do stuff for breast cancer awareness, stuff like that. That's easier. The harder things are, hey, let's go to this club all night to watch this DJ and take drugs, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what most people do. And I personally wouldn't recommend that. What do you think, Jamie? What's the kind of stuff you do like to go to?
Well, I know for me, it has to add value to my life because I don't waste my time.
Yeah.
So I tend to go out you're not gonna find me, or I think like going to a club and stuff like that, those are one-offs, but they're not typically like where I would personally want to spend time. Where I spend the most of my time, honestly, is at work or learning about something or just being around people that add value to my life or, the gym.
Or benching 225. That's the other thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. With my pinky.
She benches 225. Look at these guys. Look at these arms, bro. She will whoop your ass.
Damn, bro.
This right here.
I ain't messing with you.
She will whoop your ass. Awesome. Any other questions for Jamie? I don't want to keep her. She just got off work and she was nice enough. I wanted her and Rolo to have a conversation, but Rolo had to get out of here because the freaking Raiders are playing on Monday Night Football. Right? Anybody else?
Yeah, no, I know. And I don't have a ton of time too, but I wanted to pop in because I know I wasn't able to make Friday and I was so bummed about that. Oh, killed me.
It's all good. Well, you're on YouTube now. All right. Anybody else have a question? Just unmute yourselves.
Hey, Jamie, what do you find as the most common problem for a lot of your clients?
Why they're coming to see me and what the real issue actually is are two different things. I would say that most people are having trouble usually with how they feel day-to-day life or within their personal relationships. So usually it's like relationship problems is kind of like what they're coming with, or they're moody, irritable, sad, depressed, anxious, those kinds of things. So that's usually like the chief complaint, but underlying issues can absolutely be is actually usually like the cause of that. So here's a good example of like something I might deal with. Somebody might say like, well, I don't really like the way my husband treats me. He does A, B, C, D, blah, 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 blah. And I want help working on my relationship. Well, the underlying issue to that is I don't feel good enough and I tolerate bad behaviors and, those kinds of things. So it's kind of working on those things. So usually what they're coming in with, like their chief complaint is what we would call it. And what the actual issue is, what I would actually treat, two different things.
I just want to see Rolo and Jamie argue. That's all I want to see. That's what I want to. That's going to be my therapy.
Well, do you actually like? The funny thing is, Michael,
I think you probably agree with him.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that I don't really. Now, there's a spin that I would put to some of the stuff that he would say, but I'm actually. I don't disagree with the stats. I don't disagree with the logic behind a lot of what he says. However, I do have my own opinions about things and can offer my own opinion about that. I'm not saying that what he says or how he feels is wrong in any way. I'm like, I was listening to something the other day just about just how men would value women and how they pick partners. And I'm like, yeah, I don't agree. I don't disagree with that.
Beautiful. Anybody else? Or we'll let Jamie go. She was going to go to the Raiders game. She has 50 seats. Like, fuck you, hoes.
So, a question for Jamie.
Yeah.
So, do you feel that people kind of learn how to love in a relationship from their parents? So, if you were to, say, interact with a new partner and you saw how their parents interacted in a relationship, that might be an indicator of how they're going to view a relationship?
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's not everything. So in any relationship, okay, in any parent-child relationship, the strongest role model is going to be the same-sex parent. So let's say you're a guy and your father's absent. Well, that's going to have a huge impact on modeling relationships and how you see yourself. Absolutely. It's going to have a big impact, but it's not everything. There are relationships, and here's kind of the opposite of that. There are relationships where you can have a very strong, very healthy family unit, but let's say you get into a relationship and you go through a bad breakup. Now that can be the thing that jades you. That can be the thing that causes impairment later on. But, the better you can start, the easier it's going to be for you. So that when you have those bumps in the road later on, it won't hit you as hard. You have some, bounce back or some give or some recovery.
Awesome. Hey, Jamie, we'll let you go. I'm going to answer some questions. If you want to hang out, you can.
I got to bounce, Michael, too. I just wanted to pop on really quick, say hi, but we'll have to do round 2 of that 28th.
Yeah, we'll do it the 20th. I definitely want you on with me on the 28th. You're sitting next to me, and we're gonna take on the world. We're gonna take on the lives, the super chat. Okay,
Let's go.
You and me versus super chat. Beautiful. Hey, Grant, what's your question? Grant.
Later.
Awesome, Grant. You had a question. What was it?
Oh.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi.
Hey, Michael. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome call. Loving it. My question for you is, so going out to like these parties, like cool bars, I get the whole like being a content creator, bringing a light, having a good Insta, tagging people, but what else am I trying to accomplish with these people? Like, I get the whole making friends and influence people and, like getting their interests and motivations. Like, am I trying to like become like the connector and putting them on a list? Am I trying to like invite girls out to like these events that I don't even know how to throw yet? Like, what am I trying to seed, so that I can like hook up with these people in the future?
Okay, I want somebody from MOA to answer this question.
I'm going to bounce, Mike. I'll see you later.
All right, love you, Jamie.
Bye.
Somebody from MOA. What is the answer to this question? What would you do in this situation? What are you trying to do here? First off, give him what's the cheat code. Like, what are the things he should be doing in these situations? And then what's the answer? Anybody? Any MOA guys want to unmute themselves? There's like 40 of you on here.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So like going out to these, just going out, parties, bars, whatever, and you're meeting people for the first time. What kind of direction are you trying to lead the interaction so that they, you do network that with them in the future? Like, let's say you want to, what are you trying to like plant and seed with all these people that you meet?
All right, I'm gonna answer.
Okay.
Hold on, I'm gonna answer. Okay, so here's the thing, man. I want you to ready? Grant, take your hand like this. Ready? Got your hand like this? Okay, here we go. We got bullets in this hand. You see this hand right here? We're gonna put bullets in the clip. You see this? We put bullets in the fucking AK-47 clip. Ready? Ready? Watch this. Ready? Babes in Toyland, Model Citizen Fund, Teddy Ball. Ready? Here we go. Maxim Party, Playboy Bikini Competition, Babes, or what's it called? Paradise Challenge, Swimsuit. I'm just loading them in the clip, bro. Do you see me loading them in the clip? Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, pimp. What do you? Hey, what's going on, Jamie? The Foster Friday Foundation. Jamie, do you want to come to Foster Friday Foundation? Yeah, I would love to come to Foster Friday Foundation. Or, sorry, I can't come, but thank you for the invite. That's the cheat code. You should always have 10 events like lined up. If you don't have any, just use mine.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the first thing you should be doing. And then now you can go, as long as you're offering value, you're never creepy. The connector, the suggester, and the content creator are the 3 things that you should be doing. Are you in MOA right now?
Yeah,
right? You are
just,
right?
Just signed up. Just signed up.
Okay. So connector, suggester, content creator. So as far as creating the content, the thing you will find, you're never going to believe this. Everybody hold on to your dicks. Ready? People are shallow. They're shallow. And they want you to take videos and pictures of them. Shocking. Grant, here's the next part. You ready for this? Hold on to your butthole. They never get tired of it. You can just keep taking videos and pictures of them forever, and they'll never stop you, ever. Because I've been doing it for 12 years, and no one's ever told me to stop, ever. They never tell you to stop, Grant. Got it?
Got it.
So
All
I'm
right,
inviting them to events, and I'm creating content with them, and I'm introducing, hey, have you guys met my very single friend so-and-so? This is my have you guys met my friend Steve? Here's my friend, blah, blah. I'm just taking girls by the hand and just introducing them to guys at my birthday party. Okay?
Okay.
How do you hook up with them later?
Okay.
How do you hook up with them later? Fix your Instagram.
On it.
Fix your Instagram. Nothing, no, bro. It's almost like, how do I live every day of my life? Well, I don't really like to breathe air. Oh, you don't like to breathe air? You need to start breathing air. No, Michael, I just really want to work on like fucking hose. Well, do you breathe air yet? No, I don't breathe air. Bitch, you got to start breathing air. Okay. Like that's like fix your Instagram is like breathe air. It's like so basic. Everyone wants to skip it. I hear nothing but excuses for why you don't want to do it. And then when I ask you to collect all these people after the event, you're like, you wonder why they don't want to be friends with you, because you went and got a text, you got their fucking phone number and you're texting them and your picture's not on the text. They don't even have your name saved. No, but you DM them when you have a cool Instagram, 100,000 times more likely to get a response.
Right.
Fix your fucking Instagram. Okay, got it. Understand?
Okay. Fix my Instagram, invite them to stuff.
No, brother. Well, you're in MOA, right? Okay. Grant, will you finish MOA and then come back and ask these questions? You're way behind the 8 ball here. Fix your Instagram. You have to build a list, and then you need to find 6 females to take to somebody else's event. Those are the first 3 steps.
Okay. Got it.
Beautiful. Let's go back to Eli. Eli Lopez, what's your question?
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, since you've been in this industry for a while, it's like a 3-part question. How would you get into the red pill industry starting out? How do I get on your podcast? And what do you feel about censorship?
Okay, so what I feel about censorship, just go look on my IG. So first off, how would you get on my podcast? You would have to have a following big enough for me to put you on the podcast. That's right now, unless you are, legitimately like an astronaut or something like that. Like I'm probably not going to have you on my podcast.
Okay, what's the number? Give me a number here.
Oh, no, I would have to see you on YouTube, and I probably, if you had a channel and you were getting a minimum 20,000 views per episode, I'd probably have you on. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you'd have to talk about something that's like relevant to me. It can't just be, hey, I have a harem of prostitutes I sleep with in Colombia.
Yeah, I have to bring you value.
Which, by the way, did happen. It's like it has to be something a little bit more substance than that. That would be it as far as going on my podcast. I wouldn't worry about going on my podcast though. Like I would worry about just like, if you want to build a brand like that, that's the best way to do it. If you want to become like a red pill instructor, I wouldn't worry about that. Here's the thing, Eli, I'm not a red pill guy. That's why Rolo and I get along. I'm an evolutionary psychology guy. You want to know how many evolutionary psychology podcasts there are out there? As of a couple of weeks ago, I haven't checked this week. You know how many there are out there?
I have no idea.
0. It's just mine. I'm the only person with a podcast on evolutionary psychology. Even Gad Saad, who is an evolutionary psychologist, does his podcast on fucking politics. Half of his posts are about transgender issues. Like it's not an evolutionary psychology podcast. Pinker doesn't have one. And then David Buss doesn't have one. There is no Evo Psych podcast. It's just mine. So I found something people weren't doing. Does that make sense? Now, here's the funny thing, right? Like Pinker, Buss, Gad Saad, all these people, they have this incredible following. There is no one doing an intelligent podcast on it. And there's all these red pill people. And guess what they're basing all of their ideas on? Evolutionary psychology. Like, it was just obvious to me that this is what somebody should have been doing this and nobody was doing this. Make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
So that's why I started doing it. And it's
Gotcha.
so I would not specifically go into this being like, how do I become the next whoever the, you know what I'm saying? You understand? I'm not trying to be Andrew Tate, just like Andrew Tate wasn't
Yeah,
trying
no,
to be Dan Bilzerian. Just like Bilzerian wasn't trying to be anybody else. And Bilzerian's my friend, and I'm not trying to be like Dan Bilzerian. So like, we're all trying to do our own thing. So I wouldn't worry about getting into the red pill community. Number two, why is it that RSD asked me to speak at Summit? Why is it that why is that Justin Waller wanted to come hang out with me? Why is it that Andrew Tate recommended Justin Waller hang out with me? Why does Andrew Tate and I text every day? And why did Rolo want to come to my birthday? Why, Eli? Why?
You're doing your own thing and you're sticking true to yourself, basically.
Doing my own thing and it's true to myself, bro. You are clearly not a member of Men of Action. You are clearly not a member of Men of Action.
Hey, I'm new to your channel. I'm not gonna lie.
We don't do our own thing. That's not how it works. We don't even follow our passion, bro. We only give a fuck about what works. The only thing we care about. And MOA, guys, unmute yourselves. Everyone who's in MOA, go ahead and unmute yourselves now. I'm gonna ask you, gentlemen, a question. In MOA, we don't talk about it. What do we do?
Be about it.
We be about it. Eli, we don't talk about it. We be about it. All right. You understand? In MOA, rule number one is what?
Fix your fucking Instagram.
Oh, that's step number one. That's rule number one.
We don't listen to the words.
We don't listen.
Don't listen to the words.
We don't listen to the words, man. Hey guys, what's rule number 6?
No one needs to know how much money you make or who you're sleeping with.
Nobody needs to know who you're fucking, Eli. That's it. So in MOA, we've got a certain set of rules, right? We've got a certain ethos. So the actual answer is, because I don't talk about it, Eli, I be about it.
Yeah.
Eli, this is why
action speaks more than words.
But this is why Andrew Tate reached out. You see on the screen?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're asking me, how do you get on these podcasts? Like, why do you think everyone's trying to come on my podcast? And I don't even have that many. I have 27,000. I used to have 18. Now I got 27,000 subscribers on YouTube. Because why do you think everybody wants to get on my podcast? It's because of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's because I don't talk about it. I be about it. Make sense?
100%. Yeah.
So if you wanted to do it, then you should join a program that isn't about theory. It's about action.
Yep.
That's why the program is called Men of. That's why the program is called Men of Action. That's why that's my program. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, boss.
Okay. Beautiful. Sorry, man. You're right. It's we say banana clip. George, you're correct. It is a magazine, but we just say, but in the ghetto, we say banana clip. That's what it goes on the AK-47. Under promise, over deliver. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm not. So the thing is with red pill, I am red pill up to the point where it coincides with evolutionary psychology. I am not red pill to the point where I start believing in like MGTOW or incel shit. And I love the fuck out of women. Sorry, guys. It goes cats, women, and then men. That's kind of how my hierarchy goes. I love being with women. I love being with multiple women at the same time. That's my thing. I love, there's a few guys that I like to hang out with, like Rolo. Those are the guys I like to hang out with. But a good night for me, guys, is hanging out with 4 of my buddies and 28 women. That's a good night for me. That's kind of the ratio I want. I want about 7 to 1 in general. That's what I like. That's the lifestyle that I choose. I like to be around a lot of women. I like to date whoever I feel like dating. I want to have no restrictions on me whatsoever. And when I have that many women around me, guess what other people want? They want to hang out and they want access to whatever it is that I'm doing. And they give me access to whatever they're doing. Does that make sense? I know that Deadmau5 is playing on the 27th. Thursday, the 27th at Zook. I know for a fact I will be on stage behind Deadmau5. I have no question whatsoever. I will have no trouble getting on stage. You want to know why? Because I'll have 4 or 5 gorgeous women with me. They may even ask me to come on stage. I may not even have to go up. I may get a phone call. Please come up here. I know that next time Bilzerian has a party, I don't have to ask if I can come. What I'm going to message Dan is be like, Dan, where do I send these 90 girls I'm bringing? You understand, Eli?
Yeah, I understand.
MOA, we give you a superpower. The superpower is we teach you how to walk into a club with 70 girls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the superpower we teach. And that's not an exaggeration. Now, some of the dudes are only doing 10 or 20. Some of the dudes are like Dorico's doing 70, for real doing 70. So not everybody can do 70, especially on where you live. But the superpower I want to teach you is like is how do I become a better communicator? How do I become a better networker? How do I become better at leadership? How do I become better at entrepreneurship? What do I understand about finance? What do I understand about critical thinking? What do I understand about evolutionary psychology? What do I understand about creating events? And how am I able to walk into the spot with 70 girls?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, guys, I'm gonna do a couple more questions, and then we're gonna step off. Well, actually, before we step off, hold on, Tristan, what do you want to say? I thought Tristan had something he wanted to say.
I was gonna ask you. So I wanted to ask this because I thought it was gonna be helpful for the other guys. Where do you feel incels and like the MGTOW out community go wrong in terms of like how far they take red pill, right? Because you said you agree with red pill up until as long as it coincides with evolutionary psychology. Where do you feel those communities go completely wrong?
Right. So I don't have judgment for women who want to fuck for money or do porn or have multiple partners. I just don't want to marry them. Does that make sense? So what do other guys in red pill do? Oh, she wants to fuck. She shows her, she's in her bikini on Instagram. Therefore, she's a whore. She's a thought. I don't have the energy in my day to pass judgment on her. I'm worried about my business. I'm worried about my physique. I'm worried about my book list. I'm worried about my podcast. I'm not using mental psychic energy to judge women for their behavior. However, the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 that I want to date at one time, I will judge and basically say, oh, am I going to take this one to the next level? Okay, you fuck on OF? No, it's probably not going to take it to the next level. In that case, I'm making a personal judgment for myself, but I'm not making a moral judgment. There is no moral judgment in evolutionary psychology. Evolutionary psychology is a study of what is, not what ought. Everybody understand? It's what is, not what ought. Got it?
Got it.
Hey, everybody,
real
quick. Everybody who's not a member of MOA, put a 1 in the chat. If you're not a member of Men of Action. If you're not a member of Men of Action. Because I mean, you guys are awesome for staying in here this long. I'm super impressed. If you're not a member of Men of Action, put a 1 in the chat. Thank you. Awesome. I love it. Hey guys, check it out. If you don't want to join, here's what I want you to do. Under no circumstances do I want you guys to just join MOA. What I want you to do is call me on my bullshit. Okay. I want you to go to this website right here, and I want you to look at the 50 testimonials on that website. I want you to go there. Oh, got a 10%. Oh, Eric Tang is putting he's putting his affiliate code in there. Fuck me, Eric. Okay, fuck what I said. Go with Eric. He got an affiliate code. So you can, if you guys are interested in being an affiliate for MOA, I'll give you it's MOA. It's the same one except put earn at the end, /earn. So here's the thing. I don't want any of you to believe a fucking word I said. I want you to call me on my bullshit. I want you to go to the website that's right here. I want you to say, hey, Michael, you know what? There's no fucking way. There's no way you actually get dudes to walk into the club with 70 girls. There's no way you do that, Michael. I call cap on that. That's what I want you to do. I want you guys to tell me I'm wrong. I want you to tell me there's no way. Oh, wait. Oh, I want you to tell me I'm wrong. I want you to tell me there's no way. Oh, wait. Oh, I want you to tell me it's bullshit. I want you to tell me there's no way that a fucking US US Navy fighter pilot is running around throwing photo shoots with 70 girls. Oh, wait. Oh, no, Michael, there's no way. There's no way a dude who broke his fucking neck and almost died is sitting there throwing parties in fucking Greece. There's no, oh, wait. Oh. I want you to call me on my bullshit when my homie Anthony, who's 5'3", is sitting there running around in helicopters and hosting huge mansion. Oh, wait. Except you can't call me on my bullshit because none of it's bullshit. Because I don't talk about it. I be about it. And absolutely nothing I say, I do not back up. Absolutely nothing I say. Watch the 50 motherfucking testimonials in here. Do not believe me. Do not buy MOA until you have gone through the testimonials. Do not. You guys understand? It's important. Now, here's the thing. All of you at least should go and at least look at that right there. If you have not joined MOA, please go check that out. If you're like, hey man, I like MOA, but I can't afford it right now, that's fine. you can still come on these free Monday calls we do every other week. And you can also come and join our Discord server. Message me. I'll give you the information so you can join the Discord server. We can share some memes with each other. I'm still going to post all the kind of stuff with my podcast. Also, you can also join the podcast if you're interested in just watching the podcast, subscribing to that. The questions from the podcast, a lot of them are from my clients. They want me to ask questions, specific questions for Andrew Tate or Tristan Tate or Rolo Tomassi or Justin Waller or any of those people like that I'm going to have on. I am going on Fresh and Fit in November or December, and we're going to discuss, some of these ideas there as well. So if you guys are interested in that, go there. And then I want you to go there with a skeptical mind. I want you to go there thinking there's no way that what Michael says is true. All of the shit that he's saying, it's got to be capped. There is no way that he gets all these girls to come hang out with him and he doesn't pay them. Except you can message them, because I tagged every one of those girls in this photo. And when you message them, you can ask them if I paid them. And if I did pay them, I'll give you $10,000. If you can find one single girl I've ever paid to come to any event I've ever done in my entire life, I'll give you $10,000. How about that? Sound good? It sounds too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true. I get it. So don't call me on my bullshit. Make sure to go check out moamentoring.com. Subscribe to the podcast. If you got, listen, again, I do a ton of free stuff. I've been on this call, we've like 3 hours now. I will sit there and I will keep doing these as long as you need. I will offer value as long as you guys need. You don't have to join MOA. But what I do want you to know is that if you are going to join a product, if you want to check out a product, I would check out the product where the guy's walking up and all the girls are dressed up like fucking cheerleaders and he didn't pay any of them to be there. I would join that guy's product. That's all I'm saying. That's what I would do. Join the product where a bunch of girls, some of these girls, guys, I don't even know them. They just wanted to be a part of this. Just remember that. Just ask yourself, does he talk about it or does he be about it? Do you have playmates posting happy birthday messages with sushi over their eyes? Do you? Or does your favorite mentor, does he have that? You got to ask yourself, do you talk about it or do you want to be about it? That's it. That's the only thing I'm asking you. Okay. When you go out, are there a bunch of girls sitting there like posting pictures of you up on the fucking big screen? Do you talk about it? Or do you guys, I'm not trying to say this to brag. I'm trying to say this because I'm sick of bullshit. I'm sick of people learning bullshit from bullshit instructors. I'm sick of that. No more of that. We're only going to show receipts. From this point forward, we don't talk about it, we be about it. Does everybody understand? By the way, if you don't like being spoken to in a certain manner, you're not going to want to join this program. And if this life doesn't look like this is what you want, hold on, watch. If this is not the life you want, watch one more time, watch, then it's probably not for you. Or it could be, because I also help you with your business. We'll help you with your funnel. We'll help you with any kind of the other stuff that you want to look for. Like, for instance, leadership or entrepreneurship. If you want to help with that, that's what we do also. We don't get refunds either. Nobody wants to leave the program. People stay in this fucking program for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. Well, we haven't been 6 years. We've only been around 3 years. Nobody leaves. So if you guys are interested in that, go click that link, but do not do so because I said so. Don't do so because I sound cool. Don't do so because I'm friends with Andrew Tate and Rolo Tomassi. Do so because you investigated. Do so because you tried to prove that what I said was bullshit. And then you couldn't prove it was bullshit and then set up a call. You understand me? Rule number 1 in MOA, we do not listen to the fucking words. So I don't need you to listen to my words because you don't know me yet. But once you get to know me and understand that I never fucking lie about anything I say, then you can join the program. Make sense? Awesome. Cool. Let's keep going. Yeah, some guys are writing stuff in the chat about it as well. Awesome. I'm going to get to these last couple questions. We answered Tristan's, and then we'll go to Lou. What's your question?
Yeah, Michael, I have a leadership questions. So are you familiar with the fraternity and colleges terms?
Fraternity and college terms?
Fraternity terms in college.
Yeah, I was in a fraternity, but we have different terms in different areas of the country.
Okay, so did you have interfraternity council?
No, so there was an interfraternity council at UT Austin, yes.
Okay, so I'm currently the president of interfraternity council, and
okay,
I have about 7 board members to help me run all fraternities on campus.
What campus is this?
We're all University of Pittsburgh.
Okay, so y'all like the wait, is this Pitt Panthers?
Yeah, Pitt Panthers.
Okay, so this is where Dan Marino went to school, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And y'all just like haze the shit out of people. You just make people wear socks
Actually,
over
we
their
can't.
penises. And
It's like illegal in Pennsylvania.
y'all don't make people wear socks over their penises and run up and down the street. You don't make them do that.
I mean, it sounds pretty ideal.
What's the
but we
point of
cannot.
a fraternity at this point? I'm just kidding. Cool. No, I'm glad the hazing shit is done. Well, anyway, what's going on?
Yeah, so it's really because we're all volunteering for this position. It's really hard to keep them engaged because, like, first of all, they don't get any benefit out of it, and two, with the schoolwork, it's really hard for them to put in as much effort to their positions as I want them to be. So I want to ask you how to keep them more engaged, and also how to be a good leader in this situation.
How to keep them, the rest of them more engaged. So I would read How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would read Crucial Conversations. You need to find champions for whatever it is you do. So for instance, I'll give you an example. All those pictures you saw of me before, I wanted to go in Fresh and Fit. They saw the pictures and didn't give a shit. It was when Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, and Rolo Tomassi went to Walt from Fresh Prince CEO and said, you have to have Michael Sartain. By the third guy, and then when Miguel, the fourth guy, said it, then I got a message from Fresh that, okay, we need you to come on, because I had champions. The world is not a meritocracy. Do you understand, Lou? The world is not a meritocracy. The world is about who you know. Your network can get you anywhere. Your network will get you anything. When you have homies that back you up and co-sign for you, that is more important. Humans were not born with the internet. 300,000 years ago, humans did not have the internet. Humans did not have photography. They just had, hey, is John a badass? Well, fucking Brock and Steve over there said John's a badass. So I respect Brock and Steve. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that John's a badass. Does everybody understand? That's how human nature works. Human nature works when your homies co-sign for you. Does that make sense? That's also how people scam each other, to be fair. That's why I try to add in other pieces like testimonials with it. You understand?
Yes.
So that would be what I would do. So, because I don't have a lot of time, guys. I got about 5 minutes. I got to get off because I got another call. My answer is I would read those 2 books. Have you read those 2 books?
I read the first one, not the Crucial Conversation.
How to Win Crucial Conversation is very important. Get a champion to champion your idea. Got it?
Yep. Sounds good.
Hopefully I'll hear from you again. You can put questions in the Discord server if you want to as well. Falsato, is that how you say your name? What's your name, brother? Falsundo himself?
Facundo, what's up?
Facundo, brother, what's your question?
Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yep, sure can.
Perfect. So Facundo from Germany, thanks for everything here in the call. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so my question is, it ties into what Rolo and Eli were talking about before, which was about like the creative or the follow your passion and also the stuff that you don't do that makes you money. So tying into this, if you take for people who are more on the creative side, and for where the structural and strategic stuff is more of a challenge, based on people that you have worked with in this category of more creative people, what would you say is one strategy that you could recommend to start to cultivate the more, how do you say, like logical and strategic side, if the creative part comes naturally to you, and the other one you kind of more working on?
Hey, I got to be honest with you. You are the first German client I've ever had that asked me this question. All of my German clients are like, how do I stop thinking about what everybody else is telling me? And how do I like let loose? This is pretty amazing.
Okay, I have to say I'm half German, half Argentinian. So
okay, that makes a lot more sense. Hey, so Facundo, here's what I want you to do. First thing I want you to do is there are, I want to say 12 other dudes from Germany and Men of Action. I would try to link up with them in the Discord server, because they've got the opposite problem you'd have. You seem like, if you're a creative dude, these guys are not creative. These guys are super like by the book, very logical, very Prussian organized individuals. They're really smart and they need some creativity in their life. For you, what are you saying? You're having trouble with like focusing? Because I don't understand. Like the thing is like this, right? If I'm good at my job, I don't have to be a genius. I can still make millions of dollars and not be good and not be a genius. It's just as long as I'm good at my job. A great example of this, there are a lot of very, very dumb real estate agents. I'm just going to tell you, but they're really good at sales. There's a lot of very good guys who are very good at high ticket sales who are not very smart. They're not very smart, but they're really charismatic. So you don't have to be super smart, analytical, or focused all the time, Facundo. Unless there's some what it sounds like you may be saying to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that you may have trouble focusing on something. Maybe you have an idea, maybe there's a plan to make a bunch of money. You got an idea for a new app that's going to like manage girls' OnlyFans accounts, and you just keep switching from one idea to the next, and then it's an NFT the next week, and the next week you're trading Bitcoin or some shit like that. Is that what you're talking about? What is specifically the problem? Huh?
Yeah, if it comes to me, like basically, the creative side is just like I can just like turn off my brain and come up with stuff, and on the other side, this is more like the the part where I notice that I have to put in effort to, for example, like structure myself, develop, for example, like habits or disciplines, or to actually do that what you said, which is basically like, for example, like focus on one thing and pursuing that, and so I'm kind of like trying to work this out, because I'm noticing more about like while doing the work on myself, I'm noticing more. I'm getting more aware of these traits, and to work on that, because I'm actually like trying to transition to a job into another job. And
Facundo, this is. Do you get bored when you have to do monotonous tasks, or when you get bored when you have to break down things analytically? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't have a long time to do this. If you join the program, we can talk about this for hours, but right now, cause I got to get off in like 2 minutes here, I'm going to tell you to read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. But one of the things you need to do is that when I do boring stuff, like when I get out of here, I got to edit like my YouTube videos. This is boring as shit. But what I do is I take notice. It's present moment awareness. It's gratitude and present moment awareness that helps me focus. You sound like, I have a feeling that if I gave you simple algebra problems, you'd be able to solve them. I don't think you have a problem with logic, Facundo. I think your problem is that you have trouble focusing. And so in order for me, the thing that helped me the most with focusing, one is I started taking testosterone. But the second thing that helped me with focusing was actually The Power of Now and understanding present moment awareness. Okay. So I would check that book out. A New Earth, The Power of Now, and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck would be 3 books that help me to like not worry so much about what other people are thinking and be able to focus on the present moment and be able to go through my life with gratitude. Make sense?
Perfect.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, are you in MOA? George, are you in MOA? Gabriel, are you
I
in
am
MOA?
not. No, I'm not.
Are any of you guys in MOA?
No, I'm not.
Wait, who is? Who's the guy who said he was?
I am. George,
can you ask your question tomorrow? George, can you ask your question tomorrow on the call? Thank you, brother. Gabriel, what's your question?
How would you prioritize when you're reading a lot of books? Which one to start with, which one to end on?
Alphabetically, bro. I would just go through all of them. I've had the same problem. I think you guys need to get through all of them. I have a 26 book list. If somebody in MOA can give you, if you join the Discord server, they can give you the 26 book list. I would highly recommend, if you guys get through all 26 of those books, I guarantee you it will change your life. Rolo Tomassi's book, The Rational Male, is one of those 26 books. But I don't really think it matters that much. The order. To me, the most life-changing books I've ever read were the One Thing by Gary Keller, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. And honestly, it wasn't life-changing for me, but it might be for other people, is the fucking Setup by Dan Bilzerian. That book is like, if you guys like, when you look at my life and you think this is just so unrealistic, read that book. It's funny because he's the one describing my lifestyle, even though he's the one living the badass life, because that's exactly what he did is very similar to what I did. Make sense, Gabriel?
Yes, thank you.
All right, brother. Last one is going to be Haysom. What's your question?
Yeah, how do I go about applying? Should I email you, do it through Ramiz? What do you prefer?
Applying for what?
Closer. High ticket closer.
You're going to go to Miguel Cologne, like Cologne, Germany. Miguel Cologne. Just look at, I'm following him on Instagram. Miguel Cologne. You're going to pitch it to him. Okay. Love it. Hey guys, you guys are awesome. I cannot express to you how awesome this was. I did not think Rolo was going to sit on here for 2 hours. We kept 70 people on the call the whole time. That was amazing. Not to mention the fact the live stream, guys. I've never live streamed before, and I had a ton of people. We have 50 now. We had 70 people on the live stream. Like most people, if you watch their live streams on YouTube, they're getting like 2 or 3 people watching. I see people go the whole time. They don't get anybody watching. So I'm really happy. Hey guys, once again, thank you. Oh, I got all the ones in the chat. Hey, what's up to all the ones in the chat? Once again, MOAmentoring.com. If you guys don't want to talk about it, you want to be about it, check that out. Do not take me at my word. Call me on my bullshit. Find one thing where Michael said he was going to do something and he didn't do it. Find a client that's upset with me, and then talk to. I mean, there might be one client that's upset with me because I do yell at. I will yell at you guys if you don't take action. I will fucking yell at you. I will make some of you cry. Don't get it twisted. If you do not like being spoken to by an offensive coordinator or a fucking military training instructor, this might not be the program for you. But if you are more interested in finding success to the point you are willing to die for it, it is a life or death situation. If you ask yourself in the morning, how much are you willing to change your lifestyle, to change your ability to network, to change your physique, to change the women you date? If you are willing to die to make that change, then please join this program. I know that my salespeople, they hate when I do this because they want me to tell you that it's easy. And then in fucking 2 weeks, you're going to be banging a stripper. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm going to tell you that this shit is going to be hard. And at the end, I'm going to tell you exactly what Alex Hormozi is going to tell you. There is no days off. We're going to bust our ass. You're going to work hard. You're going to go to the gym. It's going to fucking hurt. Half the things I'm going to ask you to do are going to be really, really awkward. And I am never, ever, ever, ever going to fucking lie to you about anything. Do you guys understand? And if you don't believe me, you got 400 motherfuckers you can ask about this program, because that's how many people are in the program right now. Sound good? I will see all of you. Yeah, thank you. Hey, check it out. Again, one more time, I'll put the link in the chat. And all you guys watching on YouTube, one more time, I'm going to put the link in the chat. And I will see all of you guys in MOA. I will see all of you on Tuesday. The podcast comes out on Wednesday. For those of you in advance, I will see you on Thursday. And then for all the European guys and all the success coaches, I will see all of you guys on Sunday. And then I'm taking my brown ass to Mexico, because I don't talk about it. I be about it. And I'm going to be the host of Swimsuit USA's World Championship in Mexico. It's just me and 75 girls. And if you don't believe me, you can watch me on social media next week. All right, guys, take care. I will see all of you really soon. And our next free call is in 2 weeks. And we're going to be doing, what's it called?